Oh, hello there. Good morning. Today is the 9th of December, 2024, in the year of our Lord. This is Joy News. You're on your election headquarters. We're live on radio, on Joy 99.7 FM in Accra, on Love 99.5 FM. We're live on television, of course, on Joy Prime and Joy News. We're streaming on myjoyonline.com, on YouTube and on Facebook. We thank you for staying with our coverage of the 2024 presidential and parliamentary elections. My name is Mamavi Owusu-Abuaje.
And my name is Kojo Yankson. It's a pleasure to be with you once more on the Monday after the polls closed on Saturday at 5 p.m. It would seem that in spite of one side conceding to the other, we still are nowhere near the official announcement of who won the election. But that's not stopping us. Here on your election headquarters, we've been bringing you the results as they unfold, as they are certified at constituency level by the Electoral Commission officials. And we've got even more overnight. So if you're waking up to what you're seeing at the bottom of your screen right now, there's even more. We'll take you through the details of it, constituency by constituency. We'll tell you who are the faces behind the greening of Ghana that seems to be happening in this year's election. To help us with it, we've got a wonderful guest, haven't we, Mama?
Yes, we do. We've got Professor Yeboah Benin joining us. She's the head of Department School of Communication Studies, University of Ghana, Legon. The university went green, by the way, yesterday. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Yeah, not to be left out.
Yeah, thanks for joining us again. You've been with us throughout this coverage, and we truly appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, so a couple of things we're going to do. First of all, I know you're dying to know who won where. We won't keep that away from you for too long. We've got all the information. We'll take you through several of the regions, constituency by constituency. We'll show you who the big winners are, starting with the president's home region, the Eastern region. Now, of course, several very key races were going down in this particular region. The results for many of them are in, and we can take you through them right now. So we go straight up the mountain to get started with the Abetifi constituency. Familiar names here. Let's look at how things panned out in Abetifi in 2024. Was going up against his opponent, who happens to be Isaac Amoafo. Now, Isaac Amoafo was able to pull in some 8,338 votes for the NDC, but that was nowhere near Brian Achampong's commanding 22,287 votes, which kept the Abetifi seat quite comfortably on the NPP side of Parliament. So that's a blue one right there. Of course, Brian Achampong, in this particular race, came with quite some baggage. Apart from the fact that, as a member of the leading party, his private business ended up a little bit intertwined with state business in an attempt to take over some SNIT property, which, of course, had to be put to a halt by the intervention of organized labor. That put him on the map for reasons he might not have liked. And then, of course, you can't forget Brian Achampong's rather loud contributions to the campaign trail, where he has come under criticism on several occasions for declaring quite clearly that they will not be handing over to the NDC at the end of this election. I'm sure Dr. Baumia broke his heart earlier yesterday when he conceded to John Mahama. But we can do some more. Mama V, you can take us through to Bekwai North.
All right, so let's check out Bekwai North constituency, what the results are for the parliamentary, as declared, by the way, by the Electoral Commission. So we have Ado Frimpong Kwame pulling in some 15,241 votes as against 14,508. That of Charles Yeboah Darko. That was a close contest, Kojo. 15,000, 14,000, rather very close. But this means that the constituency has gone blue.
Now, we're starting with the Eastern region, which is interesting because it's one of the few constituencies where, indeed, the NPP managed to retain its dominance. They won it quite comfortably last election, and this year they have managed to retain so many of the seats there. This is one of them. A bit close, though. You would have thought that they would have kept the gaps as wide as they did in 2020, but what we do have is Charles Yeboah Darko inching quite close to Nana Kwame Ado Frimpong on this occasion. So 14,508 to 15,241. Quite literally some 737 votes between them.
So this is Abuakwa North.
This is the Abuakwa North.
This is Abuakwa North.
Yes. I think we can now go to Bekwai South. And in Bekwai South, this is how it looked. The NPP.
Abuakwa South.
Abuakwa South.
Yeah.
One day we'll get to Bekwai. Abuakwa South is where Kingsley Ajiman ran against Nanedu Ado Akins. And I mean, the command was quite dominant. 27,011 votes to the NPP. And Nana Edu Ado Akins managed 7,454 for the NDC. So that constituency is going nowhere. It's remaining firmly on the NPP side. Upper Menya Krobor. Now, this is the first upset. Joseph Tete put in a valiant 12,443 votes, but Bismarck Tete Nyakon inched it. Well, in fact, this is not inching. This is a good 2,000 difference. 14,889 votes for the NDC. So this is a seat that has been quite comfortably annexed by the NDC. And the command was 2,000 odd votes, 2,400 votes difference. Bismarck Tete Nyakon is MP for Upper Menya Krobor. Achim Swedro, also in the Eastern region. And here the voter turnout or the voter numbers are not as commanding as other constituencies. Osei Kennedy Nyakon won it comfortably with 9,443 votes for the NPP. Taju Abdu Rahim came in with 4,780 for the NDC. That's a blue seat. Here's a green seat. Laurentia Jiwonu putting the moves on Eric Yeboah Apiedu and walking away with a very slim margin indeed. Just over 100 votes separating Laurentia of the NDC from Eric of the NPP. And this now is a green constituency, Equiapem South.
And this is one of the shocks, actually. This was really unexpected because this is a seat that had been won comfortably by Obi Amwa.
That's right.
And Eric took over. There was a bit of controversy. You remember the MC wanted to stand. And because Obi Amwa was on the ticket, he could not.
That's right.
Eventually, he pulled out. It became another issue, and the MCE was allowed to join the race, but he could not win the internal race. That's why Eric Yeboah Apiedu, who has worked with Obi Amwa for quite some time, ended up on the ballots.
Yep.
So one would ask, is this punishment from the constituents?
I mean, with 100 votes difference, you can well imagine that it didn't take. It didn't take much for the people to decide that they wanted to throw things another way. Equiapem South falls to the NDC. Lower Menya Krobor. Another NDC victory. Ebenezer Oklete Terral.
Telabi.
Telabi.
Yes,
really?
He's retained the seats. Yeah.
New glasses. Telabi has retained it, and the lead was commanding 29,048 votes to Simon Kwekutete's 15,253. So Ebenezer Telabi coming back to Parliament for the NDC. Another NDC victory in Upper Manyakrobo. Bismarck Tete Nyako polling 14,889 votes for the NDC, greening it against Joseph Tete, who managed 12,443. More green in the East. Upper West Achim is where Emmanuel Dra pulled in a big victory over Frederick Obing Adom of the NPP. Frederick managed 15,711 votes, but Emmanuel Dra, with a respectable 22,759, takes it home for the NDC. Now here we have three contenders in the Yilo Krobo constituency. We have the Ebenezer Tete Aseni, who was running for the CPP, coming in with 412 votes. But really the race was always between the NDC and the NPP. The NPP came in with 19,122 votes for Kranting Chumberima. But the NDC inched it. Nyakote Albert Tete took 25,625 votes home, taking Yilo Krobo constituency safely for the NDC. So that does it for the quick whip around the eastern region. Now let's come to one of the regions where the outcome has been most surprising. Greater Accra region. Now here, Mamabi, several issues were under consideration for the voter, and they really proved it with their thumbs. Let's start with Ablikuma Central. Now here, Jefferson Saki, who for many years was a presidential staffer, has been working towards winning that constituency. He expected to take it home, but the NDC had different plans through Abdul Latif Dan, who came in with 57.92% of the vote to Jefferson Saki's 42.08%. All right, so in numbers, Jefferson Saki polled about 32,735 votes, but Dan Abdul Latif won it with 45,066 votes for the NDC. Ablikuma Central is green. All right, now a key race was in Ablikuma South. Many players there. The UPG was represented alongside, which one is the Lantern Party? It was represented by James Lankwe Lamte, and they came in with 413 votes. Joseph Kome had 585 votes for the LPG. But again, it was down to the NDC and the NPP. The NPP's Samuel Sabalate was going up against Alfred Okubandapoy. Samuel Late managed 12,744 votes. Okubandapoy swept the board with 35,512 votes, almost 3 times as much as the next person in the contention. Ablikuma South, NDC. Now this was heartbreak night for Ursula Owusu Ekufo, such a prominent member of parliament, such a vocal member of parliament, minister for 2 terms for communication. Ursula Owusu Ekufo came in with 45.47% of the votes in Ablikuma West. That made up some 26,575 votes. But the new member of parliament for Ablikuma West is Richard Jate Abe. You know him?
No, I don't.
You will soon. He won 54%, 54.53% of the vote. 31,866 thumbs were placed next to his photo, and he successfully took it home for the NDC for Ablikuma West. All right, now Adenta was a big race.
Yes.
A big race. 2 ladies versus 2 gentlemen. Hega Asiedu was in it for, oh goodness, which party's logo is that? Yes, one day I'll buy new glasses and I'll be able to read from this distance. But she managed 146 votes for her party. Razak Al-Hassan came in for CPP with 235 votes in Adenta. The race was always going to be between Kosia Menu and Mohammed Ramadan, who, of course, is the NDC member for Adenta. He also happens to be the brother of Samira Baumia. So it's a very eclectic family there when it comes to politics at the dinner table. You can imagine quite a heavy debate. So Mohammed Ramadan won it in Adenta with a very commanding 56,303 votes. It's a huge constituency, Adenta, because Akusia Meni, who came in second, managed 35,143 votes for the NPP. A valiant effort. There are many praising her for the actual physical presence on the ground during this campaign, but it clearly was not enough to unseat Mohammed Ramadan, the incumbent, who takes it back for Adenta. Now, Kole Clotte. Everybody expected a brawl in Kole Clotte. Valentino Norte was really squaring up against Zaneto Agyemang Rawlings, whose political pedigree has certainly been an asset in her career so far. Well, it was an asset this year too. 39,997 votes came her way, helping her take Kole Clotte for the NDC. And Valentino's valiance only managed 23,716 votes for the NPP.
He couldn't take it when he went independent, and he surely hasn't been able to do it back on the NPP's ticket.
Whether you walk alone or you ride an elephant, you just can't beat Zaneto in Kole Clotte. Certainly not in 2024. Now, Medina. Now, this has always been an NDC stronghold, and the numbers don't lie. Once again, Francis Xavier Kojo Sosu, who is in fact a very, very colorful member of parliament. His rise to parliament, a couple of elections ago, has been quite significant, and he has kept the momentum this year. The NPP's candidate, Robert Lamte, managed some 29,777 votes, more than enough to win in many constituencies. But unfortunately, it was nowhere near Francis Xavier Sosu's sweeping of the board with 56,008 votes for the NDC. Medina stays green. Odio. Now, if you've been watching social media, you realize that it's one of the constituencies that people characterize with political commentary. They expect to hear anchors on stations like this saying Odio several times a day during the coverage of any election. And I won't let you down this morning. So the NDC won Odio, and they won it commandingly. The NPP came in with 24,877 votes for Abdul Manaf Soa. That's about 39.4% of the ballots cast. The PPP and the CPP were also represented on the ballot. Alfred Abe for the PPP, who managed 0.3%. Okay, so that's about a third of 1%. And the CPP's candidate, Richard Jate Abe, got even less, 0.27%. 175 votes for him. The PPP managed 193. But Alfred Ashi took it home for the NDC with 60.38% of the vote, 38,473 thumbs against his name. Sege Eunice Lassie was in the Sege race, and she managed 5,827 votes, respectable, because the NPP's Numekevo Doji pulled in 7,313 votes, which means, again, another constituency in the Greater Accra region went comfortably. Actually, Sege is what we're talking about, went comfortably to Daniel Keshi Bessie with 18,718 votes for the NDC. My oh my. Shayo Sudoku, another interesting battleground with 4 names on the ballot. And Gifty Hawa Hammond managed 3.03%, 1,285 votes. And we also had Angmote Minmade bringing in some 0.45% for the PPP, 189 votes. Again, the fight was between the NPP and the NDC. And the NDC routed the NPP. Benjamin Naget managed 28% of the vote, which came up to 11,950 votes. But Linda Aquile Oklu, my goodness, 28,944 votes, 68% of the ballot went for the NDC. So far, I don't think we've encountered a single constituency in the Greater Accra region that has gone to the NPP, have we?
Now that you mention it, no.
No, not a one yet. Tema West, more drama. James Enu picked it up for the NDC with 49,225 votes. Dennis Amfosefa made an effort for the NPP, and it won him 27,618 votes. But it didn't win him the seat. Tema West is green. Now, there are more constituencies in the Greater Accra region, but we will come back to them because the results are not yet certified. But Mama, did you fancy a move up north?
Yes, let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Tamale North, good place to start. Al Hassan Suhini bagged it for the NDC. No surprises there. Another commanding lead, 28,521 votes to Abdul Rahman Alidu's 12,317 for the NPP. There was another candidate who bagged 315 votes, and that was Hudu Auzia. Bimbilla is where 4 names came up on the ballot for consideration, and the NPP managed to keep it. Dominic Nitiwo, Minister for Defense, defending his seat there with 34,553 votes. Next in line was Joseph Roxon, who managed 29,240 votes. Ataswale came in third for the PPP with 2,387 votes. And 750 of the votes cast went to Camille Bamanpong, who came in fourth. Gushegu is where we're taking you next. Hassan Tampuli has been holding on to that one for one term, and he's taken it again for another term. But look at the difference there. Less than, actually, it's just over 1,000 votes. Just over 1,000 votes difference between Muhammad Yusuf Malimali of the NDC and Al Hassan Tampuli. He managed 30,490 to 29,225 that went to the NDC. So that was a hard-fought battle. But Hassan Tampuli, by the skin of his teeth, stays in Parliament. Okay, Karaga. Now, this was always an interesting one. The current finance minister, Mohammed Amin Adam, was going up against Al Hassan Swalihu Dandawa. I hope I've said that last name right, Dandawa. Now, again, the numbers were quite close. 22,428 went to the NDC, 28,185 to the NPP. So you're noting a pattern, right? Where the NPP wins, the margins are small.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was Karagat. It stays blue. Now, Myong is where Misbah Mahama Adams went up against Musa Abdulaziz Ayaba. Now, these are 2 candidates who really put the gloves on for this fight. The NPP's Musa Abdulaziz Ayaba managed 18,066 votes, but Myong is green, with Musbao taking in 20,273. Nantong Now, in Nantong, Mohammed Hadi Tuferu was going up against his namesake, Mohammed Abdul Khalik, who was, of course, seeking it for the NDC. And I can tell you that the Nantong Member of Parliament for the next session will be Mohammed S. Abdul Khalik of the NDC, who managed 17,077 votes against 14,506 that were kept by the NPP. Right, we're going through the northern region. Saboba is our next stop. And here in Saboba, we had 4 names on the ballot. I'll start from the bottom. With 71 votes, Jabun J. Sampson came in 4th, which means that the NPP actually came in 3rd in this constituency. 9,170 votes going to Bimpom Bintin, and that wasn't enough to even put him in 2nd place. That went to Emmanuel Kotin, who had 9,290 votes. Now, he will have cause to celebrate, even though he didn't manage to take the seat. That went to Joseph Bukari. Joseph Bukari took it with 14,178 votes, a massive, massive margin between him and the rest of the board. NDC keeps Saboba. All right, well, let's talk about Sagnarigu. And Ataisa was running this one for the NDC against the NPP's Felicia Tete. 3 guesses as to how that went. 15,338 votes for Felicia Tete of the NPP. But look at this, 44,530 voters decided that they wanted the NDC to represent them in Parliament. So Sagnarigu stays green. Now look at this. Sanguli, Tatale Sanguli. I always wonder whether I should say the Sanguli before the Tatale, but yeah, Tatale Sanguli is where the next battle went down. Again, a commanding victory for the NDC. Williams Ntebe went against Thomas Mboma. And Thomas Mbomba managed 15,590 votes for the NPP, but Mr. Ntebe decided that he's coming back in style, 28,521 votes for his NDC. Tolong is where Habib Idrisu was dueling Osman Tahidu Damba. Now, it stays blue because Habib Idrisu managed 30,893 votes for his NPP, and the NDC came in with 24,772. All right. Now, you know what? I think we're going to do the Savannah region. Mamabi, do you want to take this one?
In the Savannah, I would have loved that you continued, by the way.
All right. Well, if you say so. We're starting, for the Savannah region, we're starting in Daboya, Mankarigu. We have the results for this particular constituency, and it was close. It was so close. Less than 200 votes separated Mahama Shaibu from Samuel Yeyu Tika. Now, Samuel Tika was all obviously going for the NPP, but the NDC inched it with literally less than 200 votes. 12,739 to the NDC's Mahama Shaibu, beating the NPP Samuel Tika, who came in with 12,596. All right, Salaga South in the Savannah region had 4 names on the ballot this year. And Jeffrey Razak had 258 votes. Abraham Bajim had 987 votes. The winner was the NDC's Ibrahima Zuwera Ibrahima, who took it for the NDC. Salifu Brahima, I wonder if they are related. Actually, no, one is Ibrahima and the other is Brahima. Salifu Brahma got 20,164 votes for the NPP. Okay, that's what we have for the Savannah region. Let's go to the Upper East region. Now, I think here we're going to see a few more blues. Let's see how the Upper East unfolded. And the first constituency we're looking at is not blue. It's Bolgatanga East. Dominic Aine keeps it for the NDC with 12,002 votes. The closest contender to him was the NPP's Silas Amwa, who had 7,415 votes. But there was also the LPG in the race, I believe, and their contender, Edwin Atia, had 61 votes. All right, Bulsa North, NDC, 13,344 votes to James Agalga, who keeps it. Actually, that means James Agalga is back, doesn't it?
He retains the seat.
He retains the seat. Good. So Thomas Alonsi came second with 10,157 votes for the NPP, and the PNC managed 146 votes through Ransford Asok. All right, Bulsa South. Clement Apak comes back. It's a rather small constituency, small numbers, but Clement Apak managed to take the lion's share with 8,974 votes. The NPP came in second through Daniel Kwame Garba, who managed 5,061 votes. The PNC got 1,639 votes through Seidu Akanzeboka. Pusiga. Now, Pusiga was won by a lady, Ladi Ayamba, who beat the NPP's Abdul Wahab Hanan, who came in with 15,798 votes. There was a third name on the ballot, Simon Paul Anaba, who got 338 votes. But this one stays green. Ladi Ayamba keeps it with 19,557 votes. Okay, we'll now jump across to the other side of the top of Ghana's map, to the Upper West region. And here, once again, we're starting off with an NDC win for Titus Beo. Titus Beo making his first attempt at the parliamentary seat.
A former General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association.
That's who he is, yes. And he managed it quite convincingly with 13,551 votes for the NDC. The next in line was Bright Bache Yelviel Baligi.
The incumbents.
Forgive me, Mr. Baligi, if I have tortured your middle names there. But as the incumbent, he did come a distant second with 6,079 votes. Mohammed Imuran was in it as well for the LPG, and Mohammed took it.
But that's a real beating right there.
138.
Yeah.
Yeah. First timer, Titus Beo thrashes the incumbent with more than twice his votes. So Lambusier really changed their minds, didn't they?
Yeah.
Like
It's gone green.
In no uncertain terms. Okay, then. Let's get on with it. Laura is where we go next. And Laura is interesting, okay? The NDC wins Laura. Bede Anwata Zumbo Zideng is the winner there. And he takes it with 12,000.
How did you call him?
Bid Zidane.
And you see that middle name
I'm super confused.
Hey, wahala. So that's Bid Zidane.
Yes.
This picture doesn't look like it.
Remember, Anthony Cabo was a one-term MP
That's right.
in the same constituency.
And then Bid took over.
Yeah.
Yes. So, but I've got to tell you, that's a very interesting picture of him. I know him. He doesn't look like that. Bid Zidane there taking it with 12,116 votes. The NPP's Jacob Derry grabbed 7,351 votes. And there was another candidate, Joseph Dabo, who had 1,131. Bid Zidane. President Bidi.
Bede.
All right, then. Sisala East is where we're going next. And Mohammed Issa Battaglia took it for the NDC. His competition was Issa Haku Chinia, who had 10,789 votes for the NPP. But with 21,621, there was no doubt that Sisala East was going green. Now, Sisala West, another green constituency. And you see the north is staying green so far. 12,937 votes for the NPP's Salifu Baluye. And there was a PNC candidate who got 202 votes, and that was Yusuf Shaibu. But Muhammad Adams Suparu takes it for the NDC with 17,436. Wa Central, a big one there. Now, here, what a battle. What a battle. 4 names on the ballot. Rashid Said came in with 132 votes. Yakubu Zakaria had 249 votes for the CPP. But just look at this. Just look at this. Rashid Pelpo and Humu Awudu battled to the end. And Humu Awudu for the NPP managed 30,724 votes.
Not bad at all.
Not bad at all. That is respectable for WA Central. But Rashid Pelpo meant business. 38,579 votes came his way, and with a good almost 8,000 votes, Rashid Pelpo takes WA Central. WA East is another one. Quite a simple victory here for the NDC. Mahama Ewura went in for the NPP and came out with 11,816 votes. But at the end of it all, Godfrey Jassau took it for the NDC with 20,402. This is your election headquarters. We're walking you through the winners and losers across the constituencies for the number of results that we have been able to confirm here, of course, thanks to the returning officers in the constituencies certifying these results.
218 out of 276 so far.
Yes, that's what we have. That's what we have. And we're walking you through a bunch of them, okay? So in WA West, Peter Lanchenitubu, former police officer, went hard against his 2 contenders. The PNC's Francis Mwina Bayong managed 728 votes. The NPP's James Pirfate, I hope I've said that right, managed 10,162 votes. All very respectable, but blown out of the water by Lanchenitubu's 25,498 votes for the NDC. All right, now that's a lot. I mean, that's a lot of results there that we've managed to make our way through. Voice is going hoarse here. So let's talk about how some of these regions are looking. And by the way, it was an annihilation of the NPP by all measures across the regions that we've examined so far. Prof.
Well, a few lessons stuck up to me as you were going through the results. I noted how often you reminded us that essentially it was between NDC and NPP. So it's still the point that Ghanaians still think in blue and green, you know, irrespective of circumstance. Generally, we seem to think in blue versus green. Do we need a third force? Maybe the time has come. But yes, it would seem that the NDC has given the MPP quite a thrashing. I mean, it's as if you've been put on the floor and played around with. And perhaps a reminder that Ghanaians watch, even though we only can exercise our part of the mandate once every 4 years, they watch, they listen, and the politicians better start listening right from day one. Because while we may not be able to exercise our mandate in between, 4 years would come and we will say what we think about how you've been behaving. Time and again, I recall that there were instances where Ghanaians were clamoring for certain actions to be taken, certain changes to be seen. And I tell people that the optics matter. Even in law, they say that justice must be done, but it must be seen to be being done. The optics really matter. When people are clamoring for something, even if you have an opposing view, the body language, the way in which you present your positioning towards the issue can tell the people whether you're taking them for granted or that you're being responsive to their needs. And it would seem to me that Ghanaians were biding their time and waiting for 4 years so that they go to the ballot and exercise their view on how perhaps the last government has behaved. For good and for bad. I mean, this sweeping victory for the NDC, it makes a good statement for them, but it has its downsides also that perhaps we may want to begin introspecting about the implications for our very politics, you know, the politics that we're doing in this country. Not too long ago, just 8 years ago, Ghanaians were at the same point with the NDC, with John Mahama. Ghanaians have questions about how they had governed the country, and 8 years later, we've gone full circle and come here, perhaps because there isn't much of an alternative, you know. But the Ghanaians, the politicians better sit down and listen and start watching and start paying attention and start being overtly responsive to the things that people clamor for.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it may not be a two-horse race next time, is basically what these numbers are looking like, particularly if you are to tell the story of the voter turnout. Right? And I don't know what you've been observing throughout the time, Mavi, but I mean, we're being told that some 6 million odd names on the voters register didn't even bother to vote.
So I think the whole conclusion is people were protesting in one way or the other. So either they went there to vote to show, or they did not. But 4 years has only become, as in election day, has only become like the tool for accountability. So you either want to go there and punish them and say, you didn't listen when we tried to speak to you, and so this is how I'm voting. Or I'm not voting at all. This is also to tell you to listen to me. So whichever way. And I guess this is the language that the politician understands. Unfortunately, it takes such a long time, 4 years. So you'd have to contain the government for 4 years before they listen. And I think we've got to change this. I don't know how they can, through this experience, perhaps, because we had members of parliament from within the same government even rise up to say that, listen, things are hard on the ground and you have to make some changes. But nobody listened.
Indeed. Indeed.
That's so true.
Yeah, well, tone deafness certainly doesn't win elections, and that is what the numbers are teaching us. But there's a lot more for us to discuss. There are a lot more results for us to go through.
Yes, there are some big wigs who are not returning to Parliament.
I know, right? And I'm sure that the newspapers have captured a bunch of them this morning as they come back to print. In fact, one of the biggest surprises for me is the secondary constituency, where Andrew Ejapa Mercer is, reported not to have carried the day. And I know that which newspaper is this? The Daily
Graphic.
That's the Daily Graphic, the center spread.
Tsunami.
Yes. I mean, Ejapa Mercer, secondary. I mean, in the Fourth Republic, the NPP has never lost secondary. But this year, it's not theirs. And there is something fundamental about this sort of seismic movement, this, earthquake movement, and the way it has, traversed several other constituencies. I mean, I can tell you, Ambrose Derry is out.
Former Interior Minister.
Yep.
And then the Interior Minister, Henry Quartey.
Henry Quartey is out.
The Minister for Communications is also out.
Yep. Ursula Osei-Kufu. Katie Hammond is gone. Katie Hammond is gone. Yeah. John Peter Amewu didn't make it in Hohoe.
Which means that the only seats, the blue seat has gone green.
I know. So that's it. The NPP has lost its hold in the voter region. There is no NPP constituency in the voter region. Of course, there were some other big losers like Lady Al Hassan in Ayawaso West Wuogon, another constituency that had kind of painted itself blue, quite permanently so over the past few elections. But it was not to be. John Dumelo taking that one quite decisively. And the Apia Kubi, of course, didn't make it. Dakwa Newman is out. Nana Iya is gone.
Yes, and guess who eliminated her? Kwame Asari Obeng, a.k.a. A+.
That's right.
Who went independence.
Okay. So now, one of the big casualties that I think we should perhaps spare a minute to discuss is Hawa Kumsin. Mavis Hawa Kumsin. Ewutu Senya East. Now, I don't know how such a strong woman has been humbled in the way that she has in this key central region constituency. Of course, this is the constituency in which several events occurred, including the drawing of weapons and all of this. Yeah. But somehow, none of the boisterousness was enough to keep Hawa Kumsin in office. She's gone. I wonder what it means by way of legacy for the NPP, right? Ewutu Senya East falling the way it has. But anyway, we'll
the
make
thing
time.
is, a female replaced her.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah. Because one of the things that we'll be talking about is the number of female candidates that have
lost.
Yes.
So those that we've lost and those that are coming in.
Yeah.
Because already we don't have enough.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, Paul Chumberima fell, John Kobina fell, Umar Farouk Aliyu Mahama also lost, as well as Ophelia Mensah and Nelson Chireme. Prince Ama had high hopes, didn't he? But it wasn't to be. He's gone. And that settles it. Laurentia Jiwonu, of course, has taken over Ekuapim South. We talked about that earlier, beating Eric Yabua, who was hoping to take it over from his brother Obi Amwa.
Yeah.
But it wasn't to be.
And then last night, you were on air. The issue about Kwabinya came up rather very strongly. There were some delays in the collation and some allegations by Michael Quay Jr., who is a candidate for the NPP. Well, you're waking up this morning to the news that he couldn't make it. He couldn't replace Adjo Asafo. The good thing for me is the fact that there's one female going out and another female coming in. So we have a new entrance for Stina Elikplim Akurugu. He's defeated Mike Okweji for the Dom Kwabenya constituency. That's a big one. That's a big flip.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Let me read a text message for you. This came in from Nisaki. He says, a look at the political map of Ghana and you think you're looking at Ebunu and Kuntumbu. The NPP is no longer a minority caucus. It's a tiny caucus. At this point, give Mr. Markin a kitchen stool to sit outside. Sepr is how he signs off.
So they don't even get to be referred to as the majority group.
They don't get referred to unless they put their hand up. So they are now the very minor minority in Parliament from the way things are going.
I wonder how much of this has anything to do with the debacle in Parliament. I really wonder whether Ghanaians took notice of that whole majority versus minority thing.
I think it was part of the message because you don't want to be president and have either equal numbers in parliament or a minority in parliament. How are you going to rule? And I'm sure they would have gone to the people with the message that look at how parliament is now. We can't even do business properly because we don't have the numbers. So if you vote for the president, please vote for the parliamentary candidate as well so that we'll be able to do business without disturbances.
I mean, at the beginning of 2021, when we had created this last parliament as divided as it was, I had hopes. I had hopes that it was going to ensure better accountability.
I think we all did.
I thought that it was stronger for our democracy. But eventually, we even were held hostage.
They did nothing with it, is really the conclusion we are forced to draw. You know, equal numbers, one independent making the difference, turning one side into a majority over the other. Literally that. And the NDC didn't do anything with it. I've got to tell you, in truth, even though everyone is reeling at the outcome of the presidential elections, the big shock is the parliamentary. That's the real upset, the real shock, right? So far, looking at the numbers and the fact that we still haven't even got all the constituencies in, it is a shock to any political analyst because the expectation was for the NPP to improve on their performance from 2020. There were some serious internal issues that led to the NPP losing several seats in 2020, and that's that stalemate that we had hopes for, right? But the expectation was that they had solved all these internal matters, and so this time around they were going to do better. That would have been any analyst's bet.
I think the party itself is shocked. When you talk to people within, they are very surprised because my understanding is they actually put in a lot of work in some specific constituencies just because they wanted to make the numbers and have clear majority in parliament. So whereas they were open to the idea that they could lose the presidential, they were so sure of the parliamentary because of the efforts that they thought they had put in.
Alas, it was not to be.
Is it true that some people, went to buy victory cloth?
I don't know, but I imagine that they would have prepared. We probably would not see because now nobody's going to bring it out.
So Joe is doing
I know,
is worried.
But you have to prepare.
I'm just asking.
You prepare for a victory speech, and then you prepare another speech just in case you lose.
Are any of the papers reporting damage to the statue in the Western region?
I haven't seen that yet.
Okay, because there were some posts running around on social media. We have not been able to independently confirm this, but there were some posts going around on social media suggesting that the statue had been damaged. But we haven't seen that come through in the dailies this morning. We will seek to independently verify this, as the day goes on. We hope it's not true because, these things cost money. We don't want to see vandalism as a result of victory. And of course, those who win are to be magnanimous, are they not?
Yeah.
All right, maybe we should spend some time going through these papers. I've got the Daily Graphic, I'll start. The front page has the big one, Mahama makes comeback. The full story is on page 3. But of course, also on the front page, Vice President Bawumia concedes defeat. Political tsunami hits parliamentarians, and we've been sharing some of the details of that story with you. And on the back page, supporters celebrate Mahama's victory at NDC headquarters. You should have seen the videos. Young people dancing their hearts out to loud music. NCCE chairperson commends peaceful voting process and urges Ghanaians to embrace electoral outcomes. And that's Kathleen Addy saying that. Violence erupts at Okaikwe Central Collation Center, and we all saw the videos of that yesterday. Shameful conduct of some people who went in there and destroyed furniture and equipment just because they didn't like the way.
I think the police should not let this go.
The video,
exactly. Get the video, study the video, identify the persons, because I truly believe that you can find somebody who is in a particular party's color cause distraction, but they may not necessarily be members of that party. Treats them
as individual criminals.
Yeah.
exactly. Let's deal with them. I mean, we can't just let this go because we want to either maintain peace or for political reasons. If people are caught doing the wrong thing, we have to deal with them.
Yeah.
You're done?
I'm done.
Okay, so there's a story on page 11 in the Daily Graphic. Because we talked about women, there's a question on the gender page. Have women lost out in parliament? And the paper talks about stories by Rebecca Kwekuduho. She talks about the fact that women groups were hoping that we would maintain the women in parliament and add on. But that has not been the case because we've lost quite a number of women. And makes reference to the Affirmative Action Act, which stipulates that there's at least 30% women representation in all decision-making bodies. But the fear of women groups is that the yet-to-be-formed parliament would not meet that target, as not much was done to push more women to contest in the December 7 elections. I wonder what you think, Prof.
Well, Mahama's job is cut out for him. At the very least, when it comes to ministerial appointments, we're going to hope that he would respect what the affirmative action law is calling on him to do, which is to make sure that at least some 30% of those he appoints into power. As for the parliament, we can't help it. Voters have voted, and you can't force 30% on there. But certainly when it comes to appointments for ministerial positions, boards, etc., there is opportunity to fulfill what the affirmative action law is asking for. It is important that we have women in the corridors of power, in the places where decisions are made. And from what we're seeing of our next parliament, they are not going to be that visible. Even the lower numbers we had in the last parliament, we're not even going to be able to get that. And that's not very, very comforting. So I guess that incoming President Mahama has a job cut out for him in terms of what to do with his appointment, especially also now that his vice president is a woman. So he gets to use his appointments to validate what he sought to show us when he appointed Prof. Nana Jane as his vice presidential candidate. If he's that interested in putting women at the table, well, opportunity is here now.
Right. Talking about Prof. Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman, there's a picture of her and the president-elect on the front page of the Business and Financial Times, and it says, Mahama completes presidential comeback, Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman, to become first female vice president. She was the first female vice chancellor of a public university.
Yes, indeed.
And she's done it again on a much, much, much bigger stage.
And if what happened in the university scene is anything to go by, then this is a good omen, because after her, KNUST did a female vice chancellor, UG has a female vice chancellor, one of the newer universities also has a female vice chancellor. So who knows? Maybe there's a female president heading our way one day.
Let me ask you that. I mean, Prof, when you look at Professor Jane, do you feel you're looking at the first female president? 4 years from now, maybe?
Well, I'm not sure, because I'm not sure of the internal dynamics of the NDC and who is lined up in a queue trying to replace, you know, former President Mahama. And so it's not too easy for me to say whether she's likely to be on the next ticket as the presidential. I'll be happy if she is. I mean, I'll be happy. I want a few more women in those spaces than we've had. But I think there's probably a queue in which I'm not too sure she's a front runner within the NDC.
That's interesting.
But she also has the opportunity to prove herself, right?
Well, that's so true.
But I want to be measured in my expectation, particularly of the vice, because of you know, this recent experience. You're only a driver's mate, right, Kojo?
Oh, now
how much can you do?
Now we believe him. Now we agree.
She's not saying she believes him. She's saying that was what she was told.
Isn't that what they say? I haven't been there before.
But I mean, I think it's an important point about the managing expectations. And for me, it's not even only about what role Prof. Nana Jane Opoku would play in the government. It's about the whole Mahama administration that is about to start on January 7, 25, we need to start managing expectations. The economy is not in the best of places. The money will not come by magic to turn it around. We have our, clothes tied to the IMF. So there's to some extent a script that you must walk that doesn't give that much of a flexibility. But we're hoping that all the promises they made on the campaign trail, they say that when a blind man says, I'll throw a stone at you, he must be stepping on something. So we're hoping that he was stepping on a stone, because otherwise there's a script so far as I'm concerned.
You just before you come in, Kojo, because of the things that the new administration will be taking over, one of them would be huge debts. And the Business and Financial Times is reminding us of the energy sector debts. It says the Institute of Energy Security has criticized mismanagement of the energy sector recovery levy. That's ESLA, warning that its collateralization has left the energy sector burdened with over $2 billion in debts after 8 years. This, according to IES, raises questions about accountability and justification with the collateralization, since the levy has been generating some $650 million annually to clear legacy debts and stabilize the sector. One of the things that I think a lot of us, what we did not understand, the reason we still have power crisis and we owe power producers is because we have this ESLA.
Yeah.
And that was what it was supposed to do.
And we're still collecting it, aren't we?
We are.
Okay. Prof has the daily guide.
Well, I have the daily guide, and the headline is Baumia speaking. He says we'll come back stronger. And this would be during his concession speech, where he says that, well, we're going to go to the drawing board, we're going to do our introspection and see what we got wrong, but we're going to come back strong. And I think that's a very important point, because Ghana does need a strong opposition. We cannot afford a docile opposition. On the front page, there's also Kumasi goes dead. Obvious reasons.
Well, not exactly. Not from what we saw. Nanaya Ojima report yesterday with the jubilations. It didn't entirely go dead.
Well, I mean, somebody won. That person would jubilate. But I think it's a statement about the energy you would have expected if the NPP had won. And then there would have been a bit more energy in Kumasi. So Kumasi goes dead, we are told. But that's a contested point from Mamavi's point of view. The NDC sweeps majority seats is also a story on the front page of the Daily Guide. And we have another story, 4 arrested over a Wutu Senya East shooting incident. 4 arrested over a Wutu Senya East shooting incident. The last story on the front page, 2024 election results, EC calls for patience. EC calls for patience. So those are the main stories leading the Daily Guide today.
Because you're going to go through the Chronicle. Can we also have My Joy Online on standby? There are some updates that we'll be bringing to our listeners and our viewers.
All right. Now, the Chronicle front page has a picture of John Mahama, president-elect, stepping forward on a stage. And that's quite symbolic, looking at the headline that says, Mahama walks back to Jubilee House. Details are on page 28. But also on the front page, Jonathan Lords Dampare and team for robust security arrangements. Good luck, Jonathan was one of the observers in Ghana for our election, and he considers the security arrangements to have been robust. We actually heard him say that on JoyNews when we interviewed him. Codeo describes elections as credible. That's the verdict of the election watcher. Credible, yeah. But not without incident, I don't think.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I guess they would consider them as minor.
Yeah. Do you even care about the sports stories on the back? Yes. I'll tell you what's happening. Arsenal was held after a late Saka goal was disallowed. Vardy leads stunning Leicester comeback in a draw with Brighton. Bayern extend Bundesliga lead after a win against Heidenheim. And have I said that right? Heidenheim. Juve come back from 2 goals down to salvage draw with Bologna. And Lewandowski, one of my favorite players, scores as Barcelona draws with Betis.
Okay, so they don't have the Chelsea Spurs story there.
Oh,
Chelsea won yesterday.
Derby. You're massive.
And Kojo, we have updates, the constituency results. If you're watching on television, then you would have realized that the numbers have changed. So we have 221 certified results out of the 276. Out of that, the 221, NDC has claimed 162 as against 59 of that of the NPP. What kind of majority would we be seeing in Parliament? 162,
A dangerous one.
59. 221 seats so far.
I mean, right next to that question is, what kind of minority will we be seeing? I mean, will they have any effect whatsoever? Will they, I mean, how will they be able to make their presence felt? You know, what can we rely on them to do as an opposition party? You know, what can we rely on them to do?
So this would teach the minority not to walk out, because that's like an easy thing that they all tend to do. Something comes up, we know that we cannot have our way, and so we walk out. That will not be the expectation of Ghanaians. You may be in the minority, but we will need you to stay and still have your say. Yeah.
Chances are they won't listen.
Walking out
Chances
should
are
not
they
be
will
an
walk
option. It shouldn't be an option.
Well, it always is. The question is, I mean, will they recognize the damaging effect of it? Or will they just do it anyway because that's what they've always done when they find themselves facing a mountain they can't climb?
I see also a need for the media in the next 4 years, accountability media, to really be active at it, because opposition is not exactly going to be able to call government to order. There would need to be additional voices that join in pushing the government to stay accountable, I think. And so a bit more energy from the accountability media side of things.
You see, Prof, that's where I think we will have an issue. Because then people will begin to raise the question, how have we played that role as a media, as CSOs? Because previously we had a lot of loud voices. And I think that we've said this before, we've had this conversation, but except that we didn't think things were going to play out this way. And people were like, we are here. We had pensioners. These are people who have saved their hard-earned monies. Say that I'm not ready to offer my investment to you, but you take it by force. And they have to go pick it. I mean, that's like one of the lowest that we've descended into in this country. And we had people not show up. We had a former CJ, and she would always be remembered for that. Stand with them. How many other voices did we hear speak against something like that?
Well, so that's why
suddenly when you come back strongly, people would say, but where were you? Where were you last year? Where were you 2 years ago? Where were you 3 years ago? Suddenly you think you found your voice because there's a different party.
Let me tell you something, and I think you've really nailed an important point. How can we have results like this, which obviously shows how people genuinely feel about this government? How can we have results like this, yet while the government was in power, there was a relative quiet? Relative quiet. I'm not saying that
Academia.
Yes, there was a relative quiet. So let's ask genuinely, how intimidating was this NPP government? For which reason voices were subdued? Because it's not only the CSOs. You've mentioned academia, and maybe Prof might want to tell us the perspective of academia when it comes to this. But beyond that, we had the largest numbers in opposition in Parliament. We had a hung Parliament. Perfect conditions for the checking of the executive. But this was the most quiet. So things happened, scandals happened, which under Mahama would have been a tsunami, but within a week or so, it just fritters out and dies. So how did they do it? Let's examine how exactly did this government manage to subdue the voices of those who clearly were not happy with them.
Did they subdue the voices?
I'm
They decided they were not going to be speaking up against things that obviously were going wrong?
But I don't know if we can even conclude that way, because the numbers show that they were deeply unhappy with what was going on. So what would make them be quiet about it, if not some pressure, some influence being brought to bear on them? That's where the idea of the intimidation comes in, because they were definitely unhappy. So what made them quiet?
So yesterday I was making the point on the show that I think that people check out and wait for December 7 to some extent, that people check out and but they are waiting for December 7. I think a bit of that would have happened. I don't have any evidence, and so I cannot say, for instance, that civil society, academia, etc., somebody was going at them or even trying to influence them with whatever. I don't have the evidence to be able to make that conclusion. But about how noisy or not people have been, whether they be media, whether they be civil society, whether they be academia or whoever else there would be, I think that at some point people who were talking may have gotten tired. A bit of that may be in there, may have thrown in the towel because, well, perhaps this is not exactly going to go anywhere. It seemed to have been a government that had a posturing of, well, waka. We've said it, but tough. So perhaps people just checked out and were waiting for December 7. Both the people on the grassroots level and also those who could have spoken on their behalf. But I think that the media, at least some, fared well. I mean, let's be fair to ourselves also. You've been here. You've been here at it all the time. Other media houses have been at it also. So not everybody has gone quiet. But we also have to remember when we speak about the media and its impact in Ghana, we have to remind ourselves that we've created a media environment that is rather very colored. A media environment that is very colored, either green or blue. Both parties have done it when they've been in power. They've created more avenues for themselves to get in contact with the audiences. And so for a big chunk, exactly my point. Yeah. So a big chunk of our media, they always would have a certain stance on issues. And so we cannot really rely on them because of how they're set up, because of how they're owned, how they're run, the mandate that drives them. We cannot look to them to do it. And that's why when I was making my point, I went to accountability media. So the media that has fashioned themselves to be actively interested in holding power accountable, calling truth to power, keeping the backs of people in power busy so that they're not sitting down and having a jolly good time. Yeah. It is that media that I look to now, not the politically inflamed and colored, media. There, the horses have bolted long ago, unfortunately for us.
Kojo, how about the clergy? They're also obviously blue and green in many instances.
They're Ghanaians.
Yeah. But this is something we were talking about before we came on air. This idea that intellectuals, people of mental achievement, still limit themselves to one party or the other. They still consider that if they are going to have a political affiliation, they only have two choices. And so you don't see civil society, for example, or even academics, actively propounding a position of some third force or some third party. They are going to align, and it's natural to align, but why must you align either to green or blue? Why are those the only options? For smart people.
Can't you align on issues?
On issues.
Yeah.
And I today academics are on the table. I think that academics, some have held their fort and stood on issues. I'm not too sure how visible or influential they've ended up being. And again, we must think of things, and I'm not buying excuses, But we must think of things in the general context within which we live. I started off our discussion earlier by saying that Ghanaians think in blue and green. Unfortunately, it is our reality, for good and for bad. That's the country we've managed to create for ourselves. Is it the best of things? I don't think so. I really think that we need a third force, a viable third force. And it's not just politically, and I think that's where you're going. A third force mindset, a mindset that is wanting to stay neutral and deal with the issues just because they are issues, not because the NDC's take on this is this way or the NPP's take on it is that way. And I think that is what perhaps academia and media, clergy you mentioned, owe this country, to stay on the issues and to force the politicians to begin to have to stay on the issues. We've tended to go by the song they are singing, and we are dancing in it with them. But I think that it's important that these elements we've mentioned begin to take a stance that isn't necessarily green or blue. So on Galamsey, what needs doing? Never mind the implications for party A, party B. I don't wear a party color, therefore can I just say my mind and feel free? But knowing full well that we have a populace that will be ready to mobilize. Because sometimes it's the very populace that is in a hurry to color you. When you make a point on an issue, they are in a hurry to... It's as if we think in binary. We can't imagine anything else beyond the blue and the green. So when anything happens and you speak, people are wondering, so how would we decide who this person is? How should we color this person? Instead of listening to the ideas that are on the table. And academics, clergy, even clergy, they're humans. We have to remember that they're humans also. And in social science research, we have a concept we call social desirability. There is the idea that people want to look good. People want to look okay, to belong, to be accepted, and will tend to do things that are normal, the one that the majority is canvassing around. And then I think that perhaps that may be at play because some of even the prophecies that came, you know, and at some point we had to say, hang on the prophecies. And you worry that we can even have a world where we can say, hang on prophecies. If we can pause it, there's a question in my mind about what kind of a prophecy it was, you know. But they are human beings also. And I hear you because we need to elevate our discourse in this country. We need to elevate our thought processes around issues. Like it or not, Galamsey is expensive, should not be permitted on any day. Corruption is expensive. Our children's education and what is happening in the sector, scary. We need to stay on these issues rather than think about them with colors in mind, that what would my party want me to think on this issue with. That is just very expensive. And I worry. I mean, if you talk to people I'm close with, I really worry about this country and just how binary we've made things. It's not serving anybody's interest. It really is not serving anybody's interest. We need to be able to just live and think about issues and what is the best way to solve them. In the ideal world, there should be solutions that both parties see as the best solutions and they champion those ones. But here we see solutions by NDC, solutions by NPP. It is costing us. We'll continue to do same until we change the game.
So I see you say we don't ask what is in the best interest of the citizen or the country.
I worry so.
It's what's in the best interest of the party.
I worry so.
With election day in mind.
Exactly.
That's it.
I worry so.
Yeah.
And you know, these days when I meet young people and the conversation turns political or partisan, I always ask, you know, which party do you support? And it's always either green or blue. But I now have a follow-up question. Once they tell me, I ask them, what is your deal breaker? What is the thing that if your party does or doesn't do, you will stop supporting them?
Are they able to say something?
There's a struggle to answer the question. because they swallow the whole thing, hook, line, and sinker. They take it that, well, this is my party, it's like this is my football team. So win or lose, I'm with them. And they haven't even thought that there should be a matter of principle behind your choice. And that you've chosen them because of A, B, and C, because they believe in A, B, and C, or because they promised you A, B, and C. And so if that doesn't happen, your support of them must stop. We don't think that way. You hit puberty and you are assigned a political party, and that's it for the rest of your life, right? So, I mean, this new dispensation we're about to enter with this supermajority and, an executive that will have complete and absolute power, it's going to be a test. It's going to be a test of our democracy. And I wonder, I mean, besides what we've been talking about, what do you envisage to be the role of academia going forward in the next 4 years?
Well, academia has to bring the evidence to the table, I think, and that's what we do. We produce knowledge and we share it. That's our job description, essentially. And so academia should do the scholarship, produce the evidence that should help the policy people, policy makers, policy actors to make decisions from a point of knowledge. What has been the challenge in the past, and these days there's a lot of attention going in that direction, thank God, is that there is a divide between academia and the rest of the world, which is unfortunate because the rest of the world is supposed to depend on the evidence and the knowledge being produced within academia to be able to make decisions. But I say that that is changing because increasingly when we do our research, there's a lot of emphasis on engaging stakeholders, bringing to the attention of stakeholders, et cetera, et cetera. Last year, you would recall we launched the State of the Ghanaian Media Report, for instance. Previously, it would have been research that we would have done, we'll publish in academic journals, get our promotions, become professors, and that would have been okay. But we spent a lot of our time, time that should be being spent doing academic work, we spent it on radio, on TV, going round to try and get Ghanaians to understand the fault lines within our media. And it's the same kind of pressure that academics in other disciplines are facing. And so is it going to change us in the next 4 years? No. I mean, it takes a longer term to make these things impactful than that. But there's certainly attention going there. But in the next 4 years, my hope would be a bit more problem and solution-led research that is targeting our issues here, the problems our people are facing and what the solution options are, so that academia is able to present evidence on these tailor-made issues and bring them to the circles where decisions are to be taken to act on these problems. And my wish would be that policy people, policy actors, policy implementers, lawmakers, etc., do not allow academia to be where it is. They should also outreach, even as we are putting pressure on ourselves to go out there. They should also hold their hands out. Nothing stops them when they're debating some policy to call on academia to say, could you quickly do research to let us know what the tempo is and what the options are. Even desk research. Countries that have faced similar challenges, how have they tended to navigate? How have they tended to deal with these problems? And then to quickly come up with solution options that guide them. So the outreach has to come from both ends. Academia should produce the research and push it out there, but also you people on this side should reach out to us a bit more and ask us the questions you need answers to. Because otherwise, increasingly what we're seeing, and it's been so for quite a bit of time, is that we're doing funding-led research. Our government doesn't fund, historically has not tended to fund our research. We have to look for grants from other taxpayers in other countries. And so the priorities the grant makers set, we ask questions around those priorities. They will still be in our discipline, but we ask questions that will position us to be able to attract the funding to be able to do our research. And so perhaps if we're really also interested in academia making a difference in our body politic, then attention also has to go to how do we fund the research that should lead to the evidence we're looking for.
And that's really important, because these days you hear, oh, there's a lot of grants in the area of climate.
Exactly.
So then that's where the research is going to go, because they're going to get money from there.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
everybody.
Yes.
Even a professor of culture and arts wants to talk
we'll be
about
asking
sustainability
exactly.
in
That's where
culture
the
and
money
arts.
is. Yes.
So yeah, I mean, one thing I'm certainly hoping for is that with the vice president elect, there will once again be a focus on academia. I know that when she was Minister for Education, she was bent on scrapping the teaching and research allowance. I wonder what her position is on it now. Of course, that's not the only way to fund research. I hope she has some dynamic ideas on how to keep academia alive. What else are your expectations of the first ever female vice president?
So apart from the fact that I think people would want to know who she is by what she does. I don't want her to be known just as the first female vice president. So more of that. I've heard people talk about the things she did when she was vice chancellor at the UCC. I know that she's deep in education. She's passionate about that field. And I want to see how she takes care of the free SHS, for instance. Because, prior to this day, during the campaign, there were a lot of talks. Of course, if you want to get people to hate your enemy, you begin to say all sorts of things. For instance, oh, if you vote for them, they're going to scrap free SHS. Yeah. I've heard the NDC say, that's not what we intend to do. We intend improving it. And I would love for her, because of where she's coming from, for her to champion this and make it better. She appreciates the issues in that field. One of the things that opposition does to you is it opens your eyes, because then you become an ordinary citizen. Now that she's been elevated by virtue of the NDC winning, not necessarily because she's going to be vice president, I would love for her to champion these things. I think that's my expectation. And I'm not sure it's too much. I'm not sure it's too much.
I don't think it's too much. I mean, it's an area she understands. And so really, she should be able to proffer some suggestions as to how to improve education. Even though she's played her game at the higher education level, generally it gives you perspective on education as a thing. And so broadly, she understands education and should be able, and she's been in that space before as minister also. And like you're saying, she's got an opportunity to step back and see what errors may have been made when she was there. And so she comes to this, I think, with better perspective than the average person. And that should stand her in good stead.
And I also hope that she would have this at the back of her mind, that if we want to see more women, as we've been advocating, then she has to show working, because whatever she does would make people want to advocate for more women, say that, see what this one woman has been able to do or is doing. And because of that, they would want more women in leadership positions. So this is, I know there's a lot on her shoulders now, but we're counting on her to lead the way positively and effectively.
That is so true. That is so true. The way Bawumia is able to say digitalization has been my thing, would hope that 4 years from now, she would be able to have A and B and C things that she can say, this one has been me. Even though I was in the driver's mate seat, these ones have been my contributions to the government. I think that it's important. Even as I say that, though, I feel a need to prompt us to remember that she is a woman, and it's great for us that a woman is going into that seat. But she also has boxes to have to tick. The boxes don't change because she's a woman. And so the success factors are going to stay the same, and she's going to have to take her boxes and deliver them. And so, by all means, we wanted to do a lot for women and to change the game for women and girls. But we also, on this side, should manage our expectations a bit because there are success factors beyond the fact that she's a woman.
Right.
Yes.
And that's Professor Abena Enimwa Yeboah Benin. She's head of the School of Communication Department. Yes, head of Department, School of Communications, University of Ghana, Legon. This is your election headquarters. We're live on Joy News, Joy Prime on television. We're also live on radio on Joy 99.7 FM in Accra, Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi. We're streaming on myjoyonline.com. You perhaps are also watching us on YouTube or Facebook. This is your election headquarters. It's day 3. We went to the polls on December 7. It's December 9 now. We are still expecting results from the National Coalition Center. Kujo, one of the things that has been slow in this election, even though the Electoral Commission gave us 72 hours within which they were going to declare the presidential elections, we know that compared to what we experienced back in 2020, this process has been extremely slow.
Yeah, the EC is, the Electoral Commissioners are still waiting around the fax machine for results to come in from the regions. And in 2024, that is a ridiculous sentence to say, okay? But it also tells you something, that we are slaves to procurement in this country. Because you know how much this commission spent on a brand new system to manage and collate the electoral, the electoral process and to get the votes in, and the amount of money that was spent to replace machines and all of this, just so that things can work smoother. But at the end of this hundreds of millions of dollars of spending, it's a fax machine.
We actually bought 16 of those.
Fax machines. Exactly. So you can tell that there hasn't been a lot of design thinking going into it, just procurement. So we just want to buy new things, want to buy new equipment, but we are not improving the process. If political parties can be convinced enough to concede the election within 16 hours of polls closing, then the referee has no excuse for not knowing who won before they did. No excuse whatsoever. So I think we have to come back after all of this and take a look at the expenditure priorities of the EC, whether they have actually spent all those millions in improving our elections, or whether the net effect is a waste of money.
We're going back in another 4 years, and we would tell ourselves that those 16 fax machines that we've procured for this particular exercise are obsolete. So we have to procure 16
More
fax machines again.
Fax machines.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fax machine.
By the way, the Electoral Commission chairperson, Jean Mensah, has been addressing the issue of the delayed results. I want us to take a listen and watch if you're watching television. Here we go.
2024 general election. As you may be aware, the Commission has put in place a robust mechanism to receive the results from the Regional Collation Center. By convention, we have been able to declare results within 72 hours after the close of polls. The Commission, however, broke that record in 2020 and was able to declare the results in 48 hours. However, 23 hours following the close of polls, we have received requests and some questions from the general public as to when to expect the results. I'm happy to announce that the results have come in from the Ahafo region, and we are expecting that from here on we'll start seeing the results coming in. We thought that it's important to update our citizenry on the process for the collation of results as it pertains to our CI 127. Because the questions that we have received from the citizens is that, oh, the political parties have results and they have the pink sheets from, the polling stations. And indeed, it is true that all the political parties are giving copies of the results at the polling station level. I think this heightens the level of transparency. But under the CI 127, we also have a process for the collation of the results, and it does not stop at the polling station. It does not stop at the receipt of pink sheets from the polling stations. Ours is quite an elaborate process that involves the political party agents at every step of the way. Additionally, it involves the observers, the media, and citizens as well. And the process emanates from the pink sheets, and it's important to note that the pink sheets form the basis of the results that are announced, whether it is at the constituency level for parliamentary candidates or whether it is at the national level for presidential candidates. But it starts and emanates from the pink sheets at the polling station. Once the results are counted at the polling station and parties are satisfied with the count of the ballot papers, they then go on to fill out the pink sheets, after which party agents sign on to these pink sheets and are provided with copies. As you may be aware, a copy of those pink sheets are posted at every polling station across the country. From there, the pink sheets are sent to the Constituency Collation Center, where you have the agents of the parties as well. And right at the collation center, no counting is done. What is done is simply to collate the results from the pink sheets, and this is done at the Constituency Collation Center. It is done in the presence of the agents of the parties and observers and media partners, and once parties are satisfied, they go on to sign the collation forms provided at the Constituency Collation Center. They are also giving copies of these. And a copy is also pasted at the Constituency Collation Center. From the Constituency Collation Center, the results travel to the region, where party agents are also present. Again, this is not a counting process. As I mentioned, the pink sheets form the basis of the results that are announced and the results that are collated. But the results from the constituency are also collated at the regional level. Once parties are satisfied, the regional results collation forms and the summary forms are filled, and the parties sign on to these. And they are giving copies of these forms. It is at this level that the results are then faxed to the head office, that is at the National Collation Center. Again, the results come through fax, and it is done in the full glare of the party agents who receive the fax, and they review it against what they may have received from their respective parties. If they are happy and it conforms to what they have received, they then endorse it. After endorsement, the results are projected and as provisional results. Those provisional results are brought to the commission, and we scrutinize it. And as the returning officer for the presidential, I go on to sign this. I'd like to ask that citizens exercise patience. It's just been 23 hours since the close of polls. The process is elaborate, it is inclusive, it involves the political parties and observers at every step. And the whole idea is to ensure that what comes up at the end of the day has involved, it's a bottom-up approach that has involved all the agents at all levels. And at the end of the day, what comes up is acceptable by all the candidates and their supporters and the citizens as well. So this is the elaborate process we have. And we thought that this afternoon, it was important to allay the fears and the anxieties of citizens. The commission is going to intends and will uphold the will of the people as expressed at the polls, and that will is what has been captured on the pink sheets. However, it's important that we exercise patience, we take our time, and we are very thorough in producing the results at the national level. As we speak, we have had results coming from Ahafo, and we are expecting more results coming in the next few hours. We are trusting, we believe that within 72 hours, and this has been the norm, we should be able to declare the results of the presidential election. As I indicated, we broke that record in 2020 and declared it in 48 hours, but we do have 72 hours within which to declare the presidential results. Of course, if all the results come in the next hour and we review them, we would not wait until 72 hours or 48 hours before we do so. It's important to mention also that the delays in some of the collation centers has resulted from the besieging of our centers by supporters of the parties. In the anxiety and in the excitement, some supporters of political parties have besieged our collation offices, making it difficult in some cases for our officers to carry out their functions. We have spoken directly with the leadership of the political parties, and we've asked them to recall their supporters. We believe that this should be done, and our supporters, our staff should have an unhindered access and the free space to collate the results. So as I mentioned, we are looking forward to seeing the results. Of course, in cases where it's impossible to collate results for a particular constituency, where it would not affect the outcome, and where the winner would still emerge winner with at least 50% plus one, the decision has been taken by the Commission to proceed with those results, even if we don't have certain constituencies as part of the final results. Once we come up with the final results, we would look at that and include it. But in order not to waste time where there's some difficulty to collate constituency results, we will proceed to collate the presidential results without it, and so long as it does not affect the outcome of the final result. So we'd like to thank you very much for your attention, and we believe that in the next few hours, we should be receiving some of the results. As I indicated, we have received the results from the Ahafo region, and we believe that the others would be coming soon. Before I end, I'd like to assure you, I think the Commission has walked the walk of transparency. We have walked the walk of accountability. We have walked the walk of responsiveness, and we have walked the walk of inclusiveness. And this has been evident from the very start of our electoral calendar, that is in the preparation of the voters' register to date. I think that the evidence is clear. The matter speaks for itself, as my colleagues in law would state. And the transparent manner in which we have conducted ourselves has ensured that this election has been peaceful, it has been credible, it has been fair, and it has been acceptable by all stakeholders. So we'd like to assure you and assure all the people of Ghana that it is the will of the people as expressed at the polls that has been reflected on the pink sheets that will travel from the polling station to the constituency, to the region, and to the National Collation Center that would be declared at the end of the day. It is the people's choice. As President of the Republic of Ghana, that would be announced, and we believe, so help us God. So on behalf of the Commission, we thank you very much for your time. We believe that in the next few hours, we are hopeful that the results will start trickling in. And if it becomes necessary to hold another press conference, we will do so. But to the citizens of Ghana, we ask that you exercise some patience. So transparent has been the process. And I believe that, I think right from the first few hours after the opening of the polls to date, we have held, this is the 8th press conference that we have held as part of the 2024 election. Indeed, prior to this time, the commission held only one press briefing, and that was when the results were going to be announced. We believe that even in the next couple of hours, you would walk with us, you would journey with us on the journey of transparency, accountability, responsiveness, and inclusiveness as we receive the results that will come in from the regions. We assure the citizens that we will work hard in their interest as our key stakeholders to ensure that every vote that is cast at the polling station counts. Well, thank you so much for your attention this afternoon. And may God bless our homeland, Ghana, and make his beloved nation great and strong. Thank you.
All right, that's Jean Mensah, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, explaining the processes and why, most importantly, declaration of results, the presidential results, have delayed. This was yesterday afternoon, by the way. There hasn't been another press conference after that. We're going to be touching base with Israel Lai, our man on the ground. What's changed? How many regions do we have so far? And what are the figures? What are the figures? Bakojo, I find it, and I'm not sure if it's just me, a bit disturbing, Prof, that we have the political parties figure things out already. They know the figures. In fact, the main contender has already conceded, and he says that even if you were to put the rest of the undeclared results, I still cannot match up, right? Does this leave the EC as, you know, like an effective electoral commission? Because I don't know, are they still effective because we know the results already? So apart from you coming to declare, you know, what's your use again? I'm just thinking.
Well, I mean, I'd love to hear what Prof has to say about it, but to my mind, the EC has just missed an opportunity, has missed a trick, if you like, right? Because the questions of their effectiveness, their competence, their capacity have been raised for 4 years since they wrongly declared the results in the last election, right? So it's been a battle for them, which I would have expected them to take this opportunity to win by simply using the best, simplest technology to do the job in the quickest, most effective way. But instead, they decided to set up systems that still make no sense. What's the point of a regional collation center? What is that? I mean, what value does it add to the process?
Make it more bureaucratic.
What problem does it solve? But they sat around a table and thought, we'll do this. And they are doing it, and it's delaying them. They've made the thing worse, right? Another thing that I will never understand, why must the ballot boxes be transported from the polling station to the collation centers? Why? At the polling station, the party reps confirm the count. They sign the pink sheet. That means this is the result. We here have all agreed that this is what is in this box. The box now becomes useless. From that point onwards, the box has no role to play unless some forensic event occurs that requires for you to trace your steps all the way back to that box. So at that point, the box should go into storage somewhere, never to be seen again. The results that move forward in the process is the pink sheet, approved by all the agents. So at the collation center, it should be a matter of confirming pink sheets. The agents are simply saying, yes, this is what my people confirmed in this constituency. Yes, they agreed to this number. Yes, that's my guy's signature. Yes, that's my... And then we move on from there. That is what collation should be. That's what the political parties did. That's why they knew within hours of ballot closing who had won and who had lost. The EC has no excuse as the referee to not know who has won the game when the loser has already walked off the pitch. So honestly, you ask an important question, has the EC been made redundant? It can't be made redundant because legally someone must declare the results. right? Regardless of how obvious they are, someone must declare them legally. But the EC can no longer excuse the amount of time it takes them to state the obvious.
And Mama V, if I may chip in, so I have struggled, and Kojo, I had hoped you, who stays in touch more, had answers. I've struggled with what was the problem being solved with the introduction of the Regional Collation Center. I don't have information on that, and I really had hoped that you did. Apparently, you also don't.
What I had was to make the process more transparent and accountable.
Okay, so 2024, when we have the benefit of better technology that makes things easier, I would have wished that the quality assurance processes we were introducing were going to be removing bureaucracy rather than introducing. By all means, let's go for quality assurance. I totally agree with that logic. The more credible people think the election was, the easier it is for them to accept, the stronger the mandate that is given to whoever won, and the more comfort the one who lost walks away with. So it is important. But if it introduces bureaucracy that from the looks of things have made us less able to deliver on our mandate as EC, at least in a manner that is quick and impactful enough, then it's a problem. Because we started this thing in 1992, and there wasn't the element of the Regional Collation Center. If we've been being able to declare results, including, as she alludes to, the last election in which the result was even declared faster than was norm, then I worry why we introduced this Regional Collation Center dynamic into the equation. Seeing very well that as the results move from one level of collation to another, it seems to me, from what I understand, that it cannot be declared until all results have been brought in and accepted.
From a particular region.
From a particular region, or in this case, from even the various constituencies in a region. So that if in Region A, the results from 2 constituencies are yet to come in, their hands are held up and have to wait for it till it comes. So it would seem to me that we introduce a bureaucracy that is paying us off in a negative way rather than helping us do things in a more efficient way. And it worries me that I'm not too clear what the reason, what the problem was that we were solving, and whether it was a big enough problem that it needed this layer that has introduced more bureaucracy.
Yeah. I suspect that this is one of the immediate things that we will be doing in terms of reform, because a lot of people have raised concerns. This is certainly not curing much. The Electoral Commission will have to come again, and I hope that this time they would really listen to stakeholders, because one of the other things that we were told, oh, well, people raised issues. People did raise issues, but the Electoral Commission was simply just bent on introducing this Regional Collation Center. We will be going to Israel Lai in a bit. He is at the National Collation Center, the Electoral Commission headquarters, because we want to know how much has been declared so far.
Do we have time for some messages?
Yeah, let's do it.
A few people have sent through some messages. This one says, Kojo, they bought the media. This is on the issue of whether there was intimidation and subduing of voices during the 8 years of the Akufo-Addo presidency. Kojo, they bought the media, the ones they could, used the NPP-aligned media houses and personalities to just keep the masses from the real issues. They always had a propaganda master stroke to destroy every bad news that came their way. I don't know if you noticed that there was always this narrative that whenever something bad happens, there is a counter story immediately to subdue, whatever was in the public domain. That narrative came up several times over the past 8 years. This one says, Kojo, I beg, cut the Catholic Church some slack. They have been a strong voice of conscience regardless.
Which I do agree, yes. I may have generalized it, but there were definitely groups such as the Catholic Bishop Conference, I remember. They were, even with the fight against Galamsey, Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that
but
one-
whoever is sending that is very right, because, I mean, we have to be fair to some of the churches also. I remember, I'm a Presbyterian, and I remember that around the peak of the
I'm Presbyterian
Galamsey
too,
thing,
yes.
it was even made a sermon topic on one Sunday, and
Yeah.
all churches in the country were thinking about how to take better care of our environment.
I agree.
Yeah.
I was in church that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was from Robert. Okay, this one says, Kojo, I'm watching your program. Don't mention my name, but this government is very vindictive. And it shows in all the people that they put in positions of trust, including universities. That is why people were quiet. They will collapse your business. In academia, they will make sure you don't get promoted. They are just bad. We can't wait to see their backs. And that is, well, somebody who would rather not be mentioned. This one says, Mamabi has a point. Where the Utumfo, Utabil, and major charismatic churches, etc., intimidated? More like they were accomplices, to my mind. Interesting. Okay, this one is about the EC processes. It says, Kojo, I don't understand this EC cry. We need the results and not the explanation of the delays. Who asked her to create this new regional collation centers as a new layer of bureaucracy? Can you imagine the tension in the country by now if Dr. Baumia had not considered defeat? Important question. She's a public servant, but will not listen to anyone. She likes to complicate things and draw unnecessary criticism from the public. I don't get her cry. And that's Jerry. All right, now listen, while we're waiting to get the very latest from the EC headquarters, we can bring you conversations that our very own Israel Lai, who is stationed there, had with two diplomats, Her Excellency Harriet Thompson, who of course is the British High Commissioner to Ghana, and the American Ambassador to Ghana as well, spoke to Israel around about the same time yesterday. Listen to this.
Now, I would want to take your impressions generally about the elections.
Yeah, well, I was observing around Accra. We had teams out across the country, but obviously they only saw a snapshot. We had a lot of teams, but in comparison to the number of constituencies, the number of polling stations, a snapshot. But so far, from the reports that we're getting from our observers, things were broadly well organised, very calm in most places, and the Electoral Commission, as we've just seen, is now waiting for those results to come through. We hope, well, first of all, we're really sorry to have heard about the deaths that have occurred. People have said, well, look, it's less than last time, and that, of course, is a good thing. But however many deaths, it's too many for elections. So our condolences to the families and the friends of the bereaved. We hope that the situation in some of the polling stations, some of the collation centres where things remain difficult, calms down soon. And as we've just heard the Electoral Commissioner say, we hope to see the leadership of the two parties do what they can to ease the tensions and to encourage their supporters to calm down.
Now, you had earlier indicated that you had, had Ghanaians expressing concerns about the nature of the elections and the fact that there probably may be an outbreak of violence. Would you say the deaths that we have, though regrettable, would you say it bears out that whatever fears you had or whatever the concerns were have borne out?
Well, so I think I made those comments a month or so ago, 6 weeks ago. And at that time, that was when people from various walks of life were talking about concerns around the elections. It was the height of campaigning and emotions were running very high. I think what we've seen has been a good, strong process. And there have been incidents of unrest, there have been incidents of violence, but those have been sporadic. They've been localized and for the most part, they've been very well contained. I want to commend the Inspector General of Police and the Chief of Defence Staff for working together in a very cooperative, collaborative way. It's clear that the plans that were in place from the Election Security Task Force were very comprehensive and they've been put into good effect.
What would you also say about the conduct of the flag bearers of the two leading parties, especially the fact that we've had a concession speech from the Vice President?
Yeah, I think what we saw this morning was a display of statesmanship par excellence. First of all, for the Vice President to have taken the decision to concede, and the speech that he gave was just fantastic. It was clear that he really had put Ghana's future, the people of Ghana, above the interests of the party, and that was brilliant to see. And then the conciliatory tone that we saw John Mahama take, His Excellency John Mahama take in response to that, was exactly what we need to see. So we're looking forward to seeing a constructive transition process between the two now.
Now, there have also been concerns about the fact that had it not been the concession speech from the Vice President, the tensions would have continued to heighten, because people are worried that why is the Electoral Commission not, declaring the results? Would you have any ideas as to how we probably could go about it better next time? As far as the declaration of the results are concerned.
So, I think there's going to be time for a wash-up, and I'm sure the Electoral Commission across the country will be planning that in for the next couple of weeks. There'll be the lessons from the official observer groups, and there have been a number of them in town, and those will all be taken into account in working out how we can do things better. And that's as it should be. I think to try to come up with lessons while the process is still ongoing would be premature. So let's give it time, let's do the process through to its conclusion, and then take the time with all of the inputs from the Ghanaian observers, from the Electoral Commission officials themselves, everyone who's been involved in this process, but do it in a thoughtful and planned way.
And finally, I want you to rate the freeness and fairness of the election, of this election.
Well, again, I'm looking forward to seeing what all of the various reports have to say about that, but I want to congratulate Ghana on another successful exercise of its democracy.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency Harriet Thompson, High Commissioner of the UK.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. So that was the High Commissioner of the UK to Ghana. Now we're hoping to also speak to some more of the dignitaries that are in there, and so we will. Hopefully, I can get to speak with the U.S. Ambassador to Ghana, Virginia Palmer also, and so she's just about making her way. But you've heard the Electoral Commission, what the Electoral Commission had to say about the declaration of the results, and the fact that they're anticipating that we're going to get a lot more of the results. All right, so I have yes. So yes, I'd want to take your thoughts, about the elections generally.
Well, I went all over Ghana yesterday, and the embassy, I was in Ho, Takoradi, Wa, and then came back to Accra to a coalition center. And the embassy had 20 teams across 13 of 16 regions. And we all witnessed very professional behavior from the Electoral Commission. Things were well organized, polls opened on time. The poll workers knew the regulations and were enforcing them politely, as far as we witnessed. I also was impressed with the comportment of the security services and with the planning that the National Elections Security Task Force had done. So all in all, it was wonderful. I am sorry that there were lives lost, and one life lost is too many. But I hope that there will be thorough investigations of what happened and that justice will be done swiftly.
How about the conduct of the leading, contenders in this election?
I thought Vice President Bawumia's concession speech was masterful and forward-looking, and thought about Ghana's future and Ghana's economic recovery, and his message to all Ghanaians that, now we are one, now we are Ghanaians, is a very important one. And I've, as I reflected on America's elections too, I've quoted the chairman of the National Peace Council, who said, it isn't a battle between two combatants. It is a contest between patriots, and that's what we saw in Ghana.
Now, there are many who are also drawing comparisons between the U.S. election and the outcome of ours. Would you agree?
Well, there were a lot of similarities in that a standing vice president running against a former president. I think they're both great democracies, so let me just leave it at that.
Okay, and then we also have, as it is now, if eventually confirmed or certified by the Electoral Commission, we're going to have the first vice president female president.
Right. That's a great thing.
A message there.
Congratulations, Madam Vice President-elect. Represent.
Thank you very much. Virginia Palmer is the U.S. Ambassador to Ghana. Thank you very much for your time. All right, so that's it. We'll be bringing you some more thoughts about what's happening here at the Electoral Commission. But yes, it looks like we'd have to wait for quite a bit to get to have the full complement of the results so that the Electoral Commission chairperson can declare the final results. Of course, we know a number of things have happened already. The fact that the Vice President has conceded defeat to former President John Dramani Mahama is quite significant, and it's really, you would say that at this point it means that probably it's been overtaken by events, or the declaration of the EC by the EC has been overtaken by events. But as I've already indicated, as the EC chairperson has already mentioned, it is important that we go through the process so that we follow the lay down procedure so that the EC can actually declare the results. But I still have with me Elting, and we've been doing this together, and it looks like we're going to be here for a while.
Absolutely, and now the addition is that we've just received the central and the western of region. So
we have 3 now.
We have 3 now with 13 more to go.
Okay. So as the EC chairperson said, well, she's expecting that we're going to be getting a few more, or we're going to get them coming in through much faster from here on.
Right, indeed. That is what all of us are waiting to see. Because, I mean, it's been hours since polls closed, and in some of the constituencies.
Yeah, so this all happened yesterday when Israel Lai got to interact with some of the diplomats at the EC right after the presser, where the EC commission, the EC chair, forgive me, had given an update on exactly how long it's going to take for the results to come in. Now, listen, let's go to Isaac Nonya, who is in Sunyani East. In Damongo, forgive me, in the Savannah region, where, as you recall, yesterday, things went a bit haywire. Now, 2 people have been shot there, and we want to know the latest. So, Isaac Nonya, you've been keeping an eye on things overnight. Bring us up to date.
Yes, Joe, it happens that one of the people who were shot, one Mukala Zibilim, a 35-year-old man, has passed on yesterday at the Damago St. Anne Hospital. I will speak. The family have gone for their corpse this morning for burial. One thing I also want to add is that currently I'm at the Savannah Regional EC headquarters, where they have invited political parties to come for them to conclude the coalition and subsequently declare the parliamentary and presidential results. As we speak, a source at the regional office of EC indicated to me that the incumbent MP has won the parliamentary election 2,000 vote plus. And that even if they add the ballot boxes that have been challenged, he will still win with 1,000 votes ahead of his contender. Also, I can see right over here at the EC office, we have both NPP and NDC executives who have come to subject the EC to the scrutiny to be able to have detailed declaration of the results. A senior police officer also told me that he has proposed the EC to move the final coalition and declaration of results to the police station and not the EC office. Witness what happened yesterday. That things will not be safe if they continue to do things at the EC level. So they are calling for police, together with the military, as you can see from the background. There's a good number of military officers at the regional police headquarters, and also a certain part of the municipality. You go to some police stations and then the community center, you see military presence there. Unlike the police officers who are supposed to be here, they are yet to come.
So it looks like we are soon to find out the certified results, and the suggestion here is that Abu Jinapo has won Damongo. Is that what you are able to confirm to us now, Isaac?
Precisely so. I can confirm from the senior source of the regional level who told me that the incumbent MP won the election with 2,000 votes plus, and that even if they will add the challenge, if they would subtract the ballot box that will be challenged, he will still win with 1,000 votes.
Right. Now, what is the state of the other person who was shot? Do you have an update on their condition?
I tried my best to locate the second person, but it has not been possible. I will speak. There's another senior journalist here who was attacked yesterday, and is still undergoing treatment at the Damago Hospital. I just spotted him this morning, who showed me the bruises that he went through. The other concern is that why should anybody try to burn down the store of the Electoral Commission and also to vandalize the police station? I mean the collation center, even though you have a good case before the EC.
Right.
That is the question people are asking.
So let me ask you this, Isaac. What's the current state of security at the collation center? Who is in charge of security? Is it the police again, or do they still have the military present?
I must say security is very tight here. It is totally a military business here. There's not a single police officer here at the EC headquarters in Savannah region. I was passing and saw the police mobilizing, coming together at the regional headquarters, and I'm sure they will definitely be here. But currently, the military have taken over. I had started yesterday, and I'm told they will be here for the next 2 weeks to make sure that things are in order.
Right. Have they been allowing observers and the media in to the collation center to observe the processes?
Yes, Israel. As I speak, I'm currently inside the EC premises. For the media and the political parties, they are allowed to come in. Anything more than this, they don't.
Right. Isaac, thank you very much for that.
Before you go, Isaac, I've got a question. Any arrests so far?
Yes, there have been an arrest. There have been unconfirmed, about 12 almost unconfirmed arrests. But I can confirm one arrest yesterday in the morning where a young man between the ages of 30 and 35 was arrested and brought to the police center. A source called the police took over, and then he has been put in police custody here at the divisional police quarters in Damago.
And just confirm again if a decision has been made. Are they now sending the collation now to the district office, or they are still staying with the EC's office?
You mean the police?
The police station, yes.
Good. That decision has not arrived yet. So I think with the president of the military, they are trying to stay at the regional headquarters here, not the usual collation center. And I think that with the military present, they will be secure to carry on the coalition and the declaration of the results.
Isaac, how about the actors in this game, the candidates? Have they been spotted anywhere? Because I think the last time you gave the updates yesterday, you said they had not intervened. Do you know if there has been some sort of intervention from the candidates?
Not what I know of. And not any of them has also come here, both the coalition center and the EC regional headquarters. We can spot some of the executives who were there yesterday for the coalition, also back here to witness what EC invited them to come and do.
Isaac Nonya, we will leave it here and catch up with you again for some more updates. That's Isaac Nonya is our reporter in Damongo. This is in the Savannah region, and we know the person occupying that seat. That's Samuel Abu-Jinapo, who knocked off Mutawakilo, who is back on the ballots this time. We are yet to know officially who has won that seat. Has it been retained, or there is a comeback? Yeah,
well, what Isaac Nonya is reporting is that his source in the EC is confirming it as a win by about 2,000 votes for Abu-Jinapo. And the suggestion is that even if the disputed ballots are all given to Mutawakilu, Abu-Jinapo would still win by over 1,000 votes. We are waiting for official confirmation of that, but Isaac Nonya is reporting through his sources that Samuel Abu-Jinapo is to be announced the winner.
But I would love that the rest of the exercise would be taken care of at the police station instead of the EC's office, because I think the police station will be much more secured, and we need to keep the crowd under control.
That was an arrangement suggested for Tema Central, where similar issues unfolded. There are some disputes around. In fact, in Tema Central, the narrative is that they stopped counting once Dr. Baumia conceded.
How do you do that? I heard that with Kwabenya as well. I don't know if if that's factual. But how do you, because you need your figures.
I can't even work it out. I don't know what level of competence these EC officials were working with that led them to believe that once a presidential candidate concedes, their job stops. I mean, I will never understand how, like what, okay. I don't know what kind of training.
No, but it doesn't make sense. I think that's what it is.
Would
it doesn't make
lead
sense.
them to make such a conclusion. But that apparently is what happened in at least two instances. So once that happened, and then there was a need to resume the process when somebody woke them up to their responsibilities.
And that will cause confusion.
Indeed, it did. So they had to make a decision to continue the counting at a police station. But what baffles me is the suggestion that the counting will resume on Tuesday. That's tomorrow. I'm not clear.
We will certainly have to go back
to
get what the latest update is on that particular situation as well.
Yeah. All right, well, this is your election headquarters. We are live from the JoyNews studio, but you can catch us on every single platform, including Joy 99.7 FM, and of course, all of our social media handles. We're live on Love FM in Kumasi. We are also live on the Joy Prime channel, and of course, we're giving you live updates all the way until the EC's fax machines spit out the results of the presidential elections. Don't go anywhere. We're getting ourselves a cup of tea. I think you need one too. We'll reconvene in a few minutes. Welcome back. This is your election headquarters. We're live from the JoyNews studio, broadcasting to the world on all our platforms, and we're so glad that you've stuck with us. What else would you do? This is the best coverage of the election, and we're so excited to be bringing you this morning's edition as the official results keep unfolding, coming through from the Electoral Commission. We have some of them, and I'm going to share a few of the regions that have come through so far, the results from the presidential results from a few of these regions with you in just a moment, and then we'll do a bit of discussion about them. Let's get started with the Oti region, and I can confirm that in the Oti region, Dr. Baumia bagged 86,489 votes, and Emmanuel Latte Jr., 532 votes. Christian Andrews, 380 votes. Kofi Akpalu, 282 votes. Mohamed Frimpong, 111 votes. Nana Akosua Frimpoma, 970 votes. John Dramani Mahama, 182,470 votes. 182,470 votes. Hassan Ayarega, 499 votes. Kofi Kranting, 87 votes. George Kum Berima Edu, 75 votes. Nana Kwame Bediako, 455 votes. Alan Chremanting, 620 votes. So out of the 272,970 total valid votes cast, with 8,526 rejected ballots, the winner of the Oti region is John Dramani Mahama with 182,470 votes. Dr. Baumia came in second with 86,489 votes. And it follows as such.
That's a difference of some 95,981.
That's correct. Yeah. Okay. I can bring you some other regions. Let's have a look at the Eastern region. Now, for the Eastern region, Dr. Baumia bagged 493,234 votes. That's 493,234 234 votes. Daniel Lati Jr., 1,244 votes. Christian Andrews, 1,507 votes. Kofi Akpalu, 344 votes. Mohamed Frimpong, 365 votes. Nana Akosua Frimpong, 1,544 votes. John Mahama, 453,234 votes. Hassan Ayariga, 1,118 votes. Kofi Kranting, 315 votes. George Chumberima, 219 votes. Nana Kwame Bediako, 6,910 votes. Alan Chermanting, 1,851 votes. So, total valid votes cast were 961,885 in the Eastern region. And Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia wins the Eastern region with 493,234 votes. But look at how close John Dramani Mahama is to that. 453,234 votes. So exactly 40,000 votes in between them. That's the Eastern region. Let's look at the Northeast region. And out of the 249,651 valid votes cast, here are the results. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, 134,800 votes. Daniel Lati Jr., 1,026 votes. There were no... actually, Christian Andrews had 275 votes. Kofi Akpalu had 266 votes. Mohamed Frimpong had 155 votes. Nana Akosua Frimpong had 396 votes. John Dramani Mahama, 111,051 votes. Hassan Ayariga, 354 votes. Kofi Kranting, 132 votes. George Chumberima Edu, 154 votes. Nana Kwame Bediako, 203 votes. Alan Chermanting, 569 votes. And that does it for the Northeast region. I have the Northern region results here as well. Mahmoud Bawumia, 370,928 votes. Daniel Lati Jr., 2,825 votes. Christian Andrews, 991 votes. Kofi Akpalu, 719 votes. Mohamed Frimpong, 444 votes. Nana Akosua Frimpong, 2,154 votes. John Dramani Mahama, 529,456 votes. Hassan Ayariga, 2,125 votes. Kofi Kranting, 604 votes. George Chumberima Edu, 547 votes. Nana Kwame Bediako, 1,305 votes. Alan Chermanting, 2,624 votes. And that is how the Northern region voted in 2024. All right. Now, the Bono region is next, and they cast 438,486 valid votes. There were 10,471 rejected ballots, and here are the results. Mahmoud Bawumia, 192,773 votes. Daniel Lati Jr., 636. Christian Kwabena Andrews, 719. Kofi Akpalu, 174. Mohamed Frimpong, 271. Nana Akosua Frimpoma, 880. John Dramani Mahama, 235,681. Hassan Ayariga, 776. Kofi Kranting, 96. George Chum Berima Edu, 99. Nana Kwame Bediako, 5,549. Alan Chiramanting, 832. That's how the Bono region voted.
And Kojo, we're going to hold on to that. In fact, we're going to continue, but this time with Israel Lai, who's at the EC's National Coalition Center. He joins us live now. Israel, if you can hear me, good morning to you. And Kojo has been taking us through the provisional results as you've received and passed on to us. Kojo, I think you ran through Northern, Oti, Eastern, and then you've just come back from Bono.
Yes, I've also done the Northeast.
Northeast, okay.
Yeah.
So Israel, if you can hear me, can we continue with the results from the Volta region? Hello, Israel. If you can hear me, good morning to you. We want you to continue the provisional results from the regions. And we've already taken our listeners and our viewers through the results from Northern, Oti, Bono, and I think one more region. But if you can continue with the Volta region.
All right, it would appear there's a
okay, so Easy is set, but we've got a bit of delay in our link to him. So Israel is going to join us, but Kojo, I think you should just continue.
Sure.
You just did Bono.
Yes.
And I think the next region will be the Volta region.
Actually, the next one is the Bono East region.
Okay.
We don't have the Volta region here. The Bono East region has, they recorded 347,040 valid votes, 10,965 rejected ballots. And here are the results. Mahmoud Baumia, 124,811 votes. Daniel Latte Jr., 730 votes. Christian Andrews, 614 votes. Kofi Akpalu, 179 votes. Mohamed Frimpong, 131 votes. Nana Akosua Frimpoma, 889 votes. John Dramani Mahama, 216,691 votes. Hassan Ayariga, 708 votes. Kofi Kranting, 138 votes. George Chumberima Edu, 110 votes. Nana Kwame Bediako, 1,374 votes. And Alan Chiramanting, 665 votes. That's the Bono East region. Upper West regional results are here as well. We had 339,548 valid votes with 9,467 rejected ballots. Mahmoud Baumia bagged 89,906 votes. Daniel Latte, 1,251 votes. Ekuya Donko, of course, had no votes. Christian Kwabena Andrews, 556 votes. Kofi Akpalu, 293 votes. Mohamed Frimpong, 239 votes. Nana Akosua Frimpoma, 1,605 votes. John Dramani Mahama, 242,852 votes. Hassan Ayariga, 801 votes. Kofi Kranting, 294 votes. George Chumberima Edu, 219 votes. Nana Kwame Bediako, 613 votes. And Alan Chiramanting, 919 votes. Central region. This is one we've been keeping an eye on. And the total valid votes cast were 965,551. Okay? And here's what we have. Mahmoud Baumia, 382,749 votes. Daniel Latte Jr., 1,457 votes. Christian Andrews, 2,305 votes. Kofi Akpalu, 489 votes. Mohammed Frimpong, 286 votes. Nana Akosua Frimpoma, 2,118 votes. John Mahama, 562,620 votes. Hassan Ayariga, 1,318 votes. Kofi Kranting, 367 votes. George Chumberima Edu, 335 votes. And Nana Kwame Bediako, 9,090 votes. Finally, Alan Shermanting, 2,417 votes. And that is how the Central Region voted. I think we can now cross over to Israel Lai, who has the rest of the certified results at the EC that have come through for the presidential elections. Israel, if you can hear us, we'd love to hear the rest of the regions.
All right, Kojo, so I missed you guys somewhere along the line, so I don't know which regions you have actually put out already.
Why don't I bring you up to speed?
So if you could call the...
Yeah, let me bring you up to speed very quickly. So we have done the OT region. We've done
Tell me which region you want of the regions that I shared with you, and then I'll go through for you.
Okay, all right then. So we've done a bunch of them, but let me tell you which ones are left. That should be easier. Currently, we are left with the Volta region,
All right, let's start with the
Let's start with the Volta region.
Let me bring you the Volta region. So, yeah, let's start with the Volta region. And just for the information of the viewers, what we're sharing with you now, some of them are provisional. A number of them have been certified. Certified meaning that the chairperson of the Electoral Commission has endorsed them. But what we're going through with you now are provisional. Essentially, they're about the same thing, but it has to go through for all the political party representatives who are here to endorse them. After they've endorsed them, then it will go to the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, who will then finally endorse. At that point, then it is certified. Nothing is going to change as far as those results are concerned. So what I'm sharing with you now, these are collation. This is a collation that has been done at the regional level. So the region has sent this one in. Just about the time we're coming on air, I got to know that Western region has also come in. That makes it 12 of the 16 constituencies. What will be left now will be 4. It's possible that as I'm speaking with you now, some more have come in. So let's go through, let's start off with the Volta region. So with the Volta region, we have Mahamadou Baumia, 56,699. Daniel Augustus Latte, 366. Equiadonko Neil, of course, and then Christian Kwabna Andrews, 372. Kofi Akpalu, 370. Mohammed Frimpong, 929. Nana Akosua Frimpoma, 1,586. John Mahama, 584,234. Hassan Abdullah Yariga, 929, yes. Kofi Kuranting, 93. George Chumberima Edu, 98. Nana Kwame Bediakun, 1,554. And Alan Kwejo Chremanting, 1,136. So that's what we have for the Volta region. So let me know which one next you want, and then I'll take you through them.
If you can hear me, Israel, let's have Ahafo next, please.
Yes. Ahafo. All right. I was trying to look at the voter region again because there's the issue of the rejected ballots, which is also quite significant, which I think we can share as well. That portion is not really clear, but I'll give it a shot. I think for the total rejected ballots in the voter region, it's 9,777. So that's the rejected ballots. So we should go to Ahafo, you said?
Yes, please.
All right, so let me go to Ahafo region. Let me just quickly scroll through and see if I can get you the Ahafo. Yes, okay, so I have the Ahafo now. So for Mamadou Bawumia, the total votes, 113,851. Augustus Latte, 357. I'll skip Ikuadonko. Come to Christian Kwabena Andrews, 221. Kofi Akpalu, 70. Mohamed Frimpong, 56. Nana Akosua Frimpoma, 349. John Dramani Mahama, 130,106. Hassan Ayarega, 367. Kofi Kuranting, 39. George Chumberima Edu, 27. Nana Kwame Bediaku, 1,731. And then Alan Kwejo Chiramanting, 441. Let me zoom in and see if I can get you the... Okay, the rejected ballot slot is not clear. Okay, but I have it much clearer now. So for the total valid votes, we had 247,615. And then total rejected ballots, 4,900. And then total votes cast, 252,515. So that's for the Ahafo region.
North. The Western North region next, Israel.
Western North, let me scroll to Western North. So for the Western North region, Mamadou Bawumia, 124,024. Daniel Augustus Latte, 546. Christian Kwabena Andrews, 627. Kofi Akpalu, 135. Mohamed Frimpong, 120. Nana Akosua Frimpoma, 942. John Dramani Mahama, 202,689. Hassan Ayarega, 579. Kofi Kuranting, 93. George Chumberima Edu, 92. Nana Kwame Bediaku, 1,723. Alan John Kwejo Chiramanting, 441. Now for the rejected ballots, it's 9,943. So that's for the rejected ballots. Go, Joe.
Thank you, Israel. So that brings to 11 the number of regions whose presidential results have come through to the EC's headquarters. Of course, you've explained that so far these are provisional results. They are yet to be endorsed by the EC chair. But it occurs to me that there only appears to be one region that has been won by the NPP so far, and that's the Eastern region. Actually, no, there might be two. The Eastern region and the Bono region.
Yeah, so
and
far.
the Northeast. Right. So, Israel, I mean, tell us, how are the agents receiving these results? Any disputes, any questions about them?
There haven't been any disputes, and as you know, to the extent that we've had the NPP candidate actually conceding, there's not much of a tussle here. The process has been quite, smooth. It comes through, they check with their systems. I'm yet to see a situation where any of them has actually raised any objections to the result that have come in so far. So yes, so far it's been quite peaceful and straightforward. I also mentioned that we've shared 11 of the results from the regions with them. There's a 12th one, that's the Western region, that came through just about when I was exiting to come to speak with you. And I believe that maybe between that time and now, we've had a few more that have coming, and so I'll go in there and get to check. And then if there's anything that I have to share with you, I will share with you. One observation I've made here, which I think it's interesting, is the presence of the government statistician. And you know how much he's been praised for the work he's done with the census, and the fact that he's been sharing, results from the the census that was recently held, and he's actually sharing some really credible information, useful information that becomes quite handy if we're planning. And interestingly, just this morning when I was coming through, I was trying to figure out how we could resolve the problem of collation of the numbers so that we can do it a lot faster, so that we can avoid the tension that has to happen. If we can have the political parties being able to tell way ahead of time what the position is, we'd expect that the Electoral Commission would also be able to do that. So the fact that we have the government statistician around actually gives me a lot of comfort that we can rest assured that we're not going to have any statistical issues as far as the results are concerned. But I'm also curious as to how we can incorporate his work into the work of the Electoral Commission and ensure that once the government statistician certifies the calculations and collations and everything else, we know that we're good to go. I can hear that there's some announcements being made, and so I'll have to check and see if we probably should be going inside. But yes, at this point, this is what I can share with you. And the observation, the fact that I can see the government statistician around gives me quite a lot of comfort. And I hope it gives everybody else that kind of comfort. Right.
Well, Israel, let's not keep you. Get back in there, get us those results. We can't wait to hear what happened in the remaining 5 regions. And so we'll stay in connection with you for those. Thank you very much. And that's our very own living legend, Israel Lai, bringing us the very latest from the EC headquarters, which is the final collation point for the presidential elections. 11 regions are in.
Out of 16.
Out of 16.
So we've got 5 more to go.
That's right.
Okay.
Bear in mind, 11 regions have come in since the press conference was held yesterday afternoon. Late afternoon, I mean, sometime around 4:35, I believe it was. From that time until now, 11 regions have come through the fax machines, and we're waiting for 5 more.
Yeah.
But interesting numbers, right?
Yeah. So in the 2020 elections, the NPP won 7 regions. In this 2024, out of the 11 that we have so far, as confirmed by Izzy, the NPP has won 3 regions. And so they've retained Western North because they won that region also in the 2020 elections. They've also retained Northeast and the Eastern regions. So the regions they've won out of the 11 so far, the 3 regions were regions that they won in the 2020 elections as well.
Right. No new conquests for the NPP. Yeah. In fact, it will be interesting to count how many new constituencies they got, or whether it was just losses. They only managed to retain whatever number they are going to end up with, or whether some of them were new conquests. Because if there were no new conquests, that in itself would tell quite a story, wouldn't it, Prof?
Yeah, it will. And I'll be curious about that data as well, whether they're winning any seats that they didn't already have. Although it would seem to me, the evidence we have so far, that we're unlikely to find even if we find that there would be many, I doubt that there would be many cases like that. Yeah. But at least it's good that now we are at 11 of the regional results, and we're waiting for only 5. That gives hope that sometime today it's going to happen. I mean, I think that we should be happy about the processes. I was happy that when I got to my polling station, I didn't spend even 5 minutes there. If I did 5 minutes, it was because it suddenly rained. It's a comfort as a citizen that the voting wasn't tedious, and I think that the EC deserves some mention for that. But as I said earlier, we need our results coming in a bit quicker, and perhaps the review we need to do from this point on as we look at 2028 is what needs changing, and for me, what can we use technology, what can we take advantage of technology to do to allow our results to come in? Because as good as the EC has done, if Bawumia had not conceded yesterday, with the pace of the results, I think would have been more trouble than we've seen.
You can imagine a lot of tension by now. The streets might not have been as peaceful as we see them today because nature abhors a vacuum. And in the absence of confirmed information, people will run with their beliefs and their hopes and their dreams. And when they clash, then we have a tinderbox. So yes, I think the value of the Vice President's concession is showing itself more and more as the hours pass on. And you are starting to see what numbers they must have crunched to come to that conclusion.
Yeah. I mean, if you're looking at this evidence, the decision must come very easy to you that you need to concede, I think.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, let's talk a little bit about some of the specific regions that have come through. And the Central region is one that captures my attention for obvious reasons. Good morning to my people in the Central region watching us. The thing that strikes me, and I don't know if you've realized this, Mama V, but in the Fourth Republic, the Central region has never got the presidential vote wrong, ever. Whichever person the Central region chooses for president wins. So it's one of those bellwether regions. And this time around, the margin was telling. That's what I'm actually trying to bring up. I don't know if we have these images that we can bring up for our audience, the provisional results. But in the absence of that, let me just read through what I have here on my phone for the Central region. So Mahmoud Bawumia managed 382,749 votes. Okay. John Mahama got 562,620. Commanding, a commanding, gap. And also, I'll tell you one thing I've been keeping an eye on, and that's the battle between Nana Kwame Bediako and Alan Kyerematen,
right,
who seemed to be the two front-running independents, okay? But there was also this candidate, Christian Andrews and Nana Akosua-Frimpong. Those two have been pulling some very strong numbers. I mean, in the Central region, Nana Kwame Bediako got 9,090 votes. Alan Kyerematen got 2,417 votes. But look at this, Christian Andrews got 2,305 votes, and Nana Akosua-Frimpong got 2,118. And this is just one example. In all the other regions, these four candidates seem to be the ones that come directly after NPP and NDC in varying orders. Okay, Alan Kyerematen's performance against Cheddar, however, or Nana Kwame Bediako, as he is called on the ballot, is very interesting. Prof, I wonder what you think of it. An established politician, a stalwart of the, the political circles, starts a movement he has started this movement because he is disillusioned with the establishment. A disillusionment that a lot of voters share. But somehow, the new kid on the block, Nana Kwame Bediako, seems to be doing much better than him.
Well, I think there are dynamics we need to think about. On the one hand, the party Alan Tremartin left behind, it didn't erase the fact that he is part of that party from people's minds. I mean, it was just when we were doing the presidential primaries that he sort of left camp. Mm-hmm. And so in people's minds, you've been there. You've been part of this. We don't free you just because you've left camp. And I think that that is playing in here. And then when we go to Nana Kwame Bediako, I don't know why I wanted to say Bediako. Nana Kwame Bediako, I think that he's managed to pitch camp with the youth. He managed to get a lot of the young people thinking of him as, you know, they have a stand in here too. I mean, our politics has been very, very ageist. It's tended to be relatively old people that show on the ballot box. Here was a very young face, and so to some extent, young people could think, we have a hand in there too. Now we have a seat at the table. And when you saw him campaigning, he managed to get a lot of the young people on the streets doing their drudgery, day-to-day hassles, following him. And I think that that may count for something in his favor in this election. Yeah. Whether or not it was going to change the equation in any way is another issue. We've debated that earlier about how blue and green Ghanaians fundamentally are showing themselves to think in this election.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, one might even point to some of the methods by which these two independent candidates campaigned. There was a certain leveraging of social media to a larger extent by Nana Kwame Bediako, while Alan Tremartin pursued the more conventional methods of campaigning. I wonder whether that also is showing itself.
To some extent, but as I said, it means that Nana Kwame Bediako Nana Kwame Bediako knew his audience. It's a youth audience. They exist online. And so if you were going to capture their attention and get them energetic enough to want to come out and vote for you, you needed to go meet them where they exist. Whereas Alan's, I think his political journey has been situated within a certain frame, and he dealt within comfortable waters, I'd imagine. Yeah.
All right, well, who wants to know how the Western region voted? Let's find out some numbers. Let's go back to Israel Lai, who is at the EC headquarters. Israel, Western numbers?
Yes. All right. So as I mentioned to you, we had the Western region come through. I've obtained it, so I can share that with you again. I want to reiterate that these are provisional. They've come from the region, and they've been shared to the political party representatives. They would endorse, and then it will go to the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, who would then finally endorse it. And once it's endorsed, then it becomes certified. So this is the way the Western region voted. So Mahamadou Bawumia, 275,231. Augustus Latte, 912. Christian Kwabna Andrews, 2,946. Kofi Akpaloo, 324. Mohamed Frimpong, 199. Nana Akosua Frimpoma, 2,281. John Dramani Mahama, 423,245. Hassan Ayariga, 995. Kofi Kuranting, 168. George Chum Berima Edu, 201. Nana Kwame Bediako, 9,000 1,922. Alan John Kwejo Chiramanting, 1,643. Usually, okay, the rejected ballots column and the lower column is usually not too clear, so I have to, but total rejected ballots I can say for this is it looks like 17,654. Let me just take a look. Yes, it looks like 17,654. That's quite a number. But yes, that's what it's looking like. Let me just be sure one more time, because the figure I'm seeing is usually not very clear. But yeah, but it's looking like that. It's looking like that. 17,654 total rejected ballots. That's quite a number. But yes, that's what we have. And I have a quick update as well as far as the figures I've shared with you. It turns out that so the regions we have outstanding now will be Greater Accra, Ashanti, Upper East, and Savannah. Now, for the regions I've already shared with you, apparently it turns out there are 2 of the regions that have some constituencies outstanding. So they didn't get the complete result, but they decided to still share it. And these are so for Central Region, Ewutu Senya East is not included in the figure that I shared earlier, or which you would have shared with, and I'll just quickly go back to the Central Region so that we're both on the same page. Okay, so the Central Region, there was a figure that was shared. So Mahamadou Bawumia 382,749, and then John Dramani Mahama 562,620. The figures that we've shared with you does not include Ewutu Senya East, it turns out. And then for the Eastern Region, there are also 3 constituencies that are not included in the tally that we shared with you. So these 3 constituencies are Suhum, Insoa Madrejuri, and Akwetia. So these three constituencies are not included in the tally that we shared with you. And I can quickly go through and see for the Eastern Region so that we can get that. But yes, those 3 constituencies, as I mentioned, for the Eastern Region are not included. I believe they just decided that they will still go ahead and share with the rest of the country, because they believe that we have to wrap this thing up. So for the Eastern Region, we had indicated earlier that 493,234 votes went to Dr. Bawumia, and then John Dramani Mahama 453,234 votes went to John Dramani Mahama. But it turns out that for the Eastern Region, the tally we have here, the votes that we have counted, it does not include Suhum, Insoa Madrejuri, and Akwetia. So if there's any political party that's watching and feels that, no, you are understating the votes that we got, this is the reason it's not been included. I'm sure eventually it will come through. Now, for the Greater Accra Region, we're expecting the Greater Accra Region to still come through, and outstanding regions Ashanti, Upper East, and Savannah. So that'll be the latest update I have for you now.
In terms of the Eastern Region, it has been agreed that the 3 constituencies put together, even if they were to give it to one party, it will not make a difference.
I'm not sure that's the decision. I believe that they're deciding that they still have to move the process forward, because if there are contentions, and especially when we've already had the NPP presidential candidate concede, but it looks like I have some intervention from the Electoral Commission, so I'd want Mr. Tet to you're probably going to have to sit down with me. I know you had some intervention you want to make.
Yes.
Okay.
So, well, I think you have to review the Bono East. I think we left Bono East in terms of the constituency excluded.
Oh, okay. So yes, so that's just an update I'm getting. So we had mentioned we are giving you the Bono East region already. So I'll just let him go through. Right. So let's go over the regions that are outstanding. Once again, we're getting it from you, and then we'll take it from there. So what are the regions that are outstanding again?
So we're talking about the Upper East region, Greater Accra, Ashanti region, and Savannah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there are 4 outstanding.
4, exactly.
Now, and then we have some of the regions that have come through, such as the Central and then Eastern, yes. And then you're saying the Bono East as well.
Without Techiman South.
Okay, so Bono East is without Techiman South. So you have the tally there, which I shared with you earlier. I would want to quickly go to that Bono East, and then we'll look at the, yeah. So we have Bono East. For Bono East, we had Dr. Baumia having 124,811 and John Dramani Mahama 216,691. But as Mr. Tete is saying, it does not include
Techiman South.
It does not include Techiman South. Okay, so we have 3 regions that we've shared with you that have some constituencies outstanding. Bono East doesn't have Techiman South in that tally. And then
Central region without Eutu Senya East. And then we have the Eastern region without Sihum, Insawama, Jiri, and then Akwitia.
All right. So we're clear with those ones. Now, before you go, since I have you here, we would have to engage. When do we expect to get the declaration done?
Well, we are within the 72 hours, as you can see. Close of poll, 5 o'clock, 7th December, up to now, we are close to about 35 hours. Yes. So we have a little bit of time, but looking at the rate at which we are going, we could have done it faster than that, yeah, because of the rampaging and then the besieging of our coalition centers and officers. We hope that this kind of unruly behavior will stop for the 4 outstanding regions to hurry up, wrap up, and then send their results here.
All right. So
obviously we can finish within before the end of day, right?
So all that's great, but yes, and these are conversations I've had with some of the commissioners about how we can fast track the process. But yes, the commission would sit down later and review the whole process and decide how we can fast track the process in the future. But I also want to find out, I was trying to explain to them why we had some of the regions coming through with some outstanding constituencies. And I was explaining to them that, yes, you're having to push it through because the process has to move on. Initially, when I spoke with you, you had indicated that you need to have the full complement of the constituencies before the results come through. Now you're saying that it turns out that has changed. What accounts for that?
Well, it has not changed. If you can, you will notice, you do everything possible to get all your results, and that's what the law requires. However, in situation where things happens, force majeure, and the results could not be received on time because of the unforeseen circumstances, you go ahead with what you have, okay? And it doesn't change anything, because what happens is that in elections you are looking at the
first
numbers,
past the post.
Not only first past the post. First past the post is quite even more critical, where you need everything on board. But in a majoritarian kind of system, what you need is the numbers. Okay, if the 2 front runners, okay, the gap in between, the impact, okay, of the incident will not change anything. Okay, you go ahead. Right. So that's what we are seeing now. And sometimes it's another route where within the dynamics
okay, is used to frustrate the process. Exactly. So for us, it's not something that we are saying that, okay, we are doing away with those constituencies, okay? If they come, fine. And if they are not coming now, looking at the gap in between, we just go ahead and then put the figures together and declare.
All right.
I must say that this is not the first time things like this are happening, okay? I remember it happened in 2016 without Solar Tuna Kalba constituency, then Afram Plains South at the time of Madam Jane Charlotte to say. In the time of Aferijan, we've declared presidential results without 4 constituencies. Okay, so like I'm saying, looking at the outcome and the impact of the figures, okay, on the candidate, right? You go ahead and then, right.
Okay, thank you very much. So, yes, that's the latest update that we have for you. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you very much, Israel, and that was quite enlightening. It's really important that you got us that clarity on the processes. So now we understand what the EC's thinking is. That, look, as long as the results cannot be changed by whatever outstanding constituency results they have, they will go ahead with the regional numbers. That makes sense.
Yeah.
If it won't change anything, might as well go ahead. Yeah. So that's what we're looking at the moment, and these numbers are coming in. We now have 12 regions. We've just got the Western region coming through.
Yeah.
Again, a massive win for the NDC.
So Eastern region has already been declared without 3 constituencies, Suhum, Nsawam, Adwejiri, and Akwatia.
Correct.
But the outstanding regions so far, what the EC has not received, Ashanti, Greater Accra, Savannah, and Upper East. We also do understand that even though they've put the provisional results for the Central region out, there is an outstanding constituency result, which is Ewutu Senya East.
Yeah.
And there is another reason for
constituency.
Exactly. And there's also the Bono East. The provisional result is out, but it is without Techiman South. And as we've heard the explanation, if you were to put all the figures together and give to one party in this exercise, it would not overturn the results. And that's why they've gone ahead to do this. But I also quickly want to say that so far in this 2024 presidential election, Western, Oti, Northern, Bono, Ahafo, Central, Upper West, and Bono East and the Volta region, 9 regions so far, have all gone to the NDC presidential candidate, John Mahama, as against Dr. Baumia of the NPP, who so far out of the 12 has won 3 regions, Western, Northeast, and Eastern region. And as I said a bit earlier, these are regions that the NPP's Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo won in the 2020 elections. I beg your pardon.
Retained those
So
regions.
they've retained, exactly. Yeah.
So that's the picture of the presidential numbers as they are being officially processed by the Electoral Commission. These are provisional results. Once the commission, the chair of the commission endorses them following the confirmation of all the party agents, they will then become the certified results. And of course, we'll let you know when that happens, because the EC chair will have a presser during which she announces the certified results. So that's where we are. And there is some information coming through, Mamavi.
Yes, and the NADMO office, the National Disaster Management Organization office, and we need to clarify which of the offices is allegedly, the head office is allegedly under attack by some irate youth. A senior NADMO official who wants to remain anonymous is joining us with details of this. Hello, good morning, thank you so much for your time. So what exactly is happening? And where is this office located? Hello? Okay, so we've lost this person who is going to be giving us information about the NADMO head office here in Accra being under attack. And this is all an allegation. They are calling for reinforcement, security reinforcement, we understand. We'll get this person to join us as and when we're able to establish contact with this person, we'll put them through for more details. What has happened? Why is their office a target? So far, has there been any injuries? Lots of questions that we have. What is special about this NADMO office? What is alleged to be taking place there that would cause some persons to want to attack it?
NADMO is one of the state institutions that has turned into a party property. Every time a new party takes over power, NADMO seems to be one of the places in which they relish placing their people. Jobs, positions, they love to do that. And so in this winner-takes-all tradition, you can well imagine that immediately after these presidential results come out, certain Ghanaians immediately cannot resist the temptation to go and take over institutions that they think should belong to them.
So we have this person back with us, and for obvious reasons, she doesn't want to be named. So please tell us where this office is located and what has happened.
No, I'm hiding in one of our offices, NADMO head office. The place has been besieged by thugs. I don't know where they are coming from, and they are harassing everybody here.
What's their reason? Do you know why?
I mean, it's been a recurrent affair. Every time there's change in power, officers of NADMO are attacked for no reason. We came to the office this morning to work, and the whole place is besieged. Just harassing everybody here.
When you say besieged, have they entered the building itself? Are they in offices?
Yes, they have entered our offices, asking people to leave the offices, snatching keys away from people. I have to go into hiding to call you guys.
How many people do you estimate to be in this gang?
I mean, it's quite a number. They have taken over the frontage of our office. They are quite a number. I can't count, but they are quite a number.
Remind us, which part of Accra is the NADMO head office located?
It's at the Kanda, near the new mosque, near the National Mosque.
Right.
Our head office here.
I know the area.
Okay.
Now, is it safe for you to leave this building, or are you going to have to stay undercover?
I would have to stay undercover to be able to leave.
Right. Have you been able to alert the police?
Unfortunately, no. Unfortunately, no. I mean, I thought that was, I'm a bit confused and a bit shaken. So,
okay.
I'll try and call the police as well. But
well, I want you to relax. We will help you with that. I want you to relax, stay hidden. Don't raise your voice too loud and draw attention to your location. We will alert the police and get them to you as quickly as we can. But please try to stay out of harm's way. Keep your is your phone battery fully charged?
Yes.
Okay, good. So keep it with you and make sure that we have your number. We can stay in touch with you. We'll let the police call you when they are on their way to you. Don't you worry. Help is on its way. It's going to be all right. Just stay hidden.
Yeah, but Kojo, I want to ask her some. Are you the only person in this place where you're hiding, or you have colleagues with you?
I have colleagues with me, and people are just finding their way out. So ask them when they are able to leave the world. So I'm also trying to leave.
But this building, do you have security at all? Maybe not police, but is there some sort of security?
We don't have security cover at all, just our normal security men at post.
Right.
But they are all, I mean, they are not even, they are not nowhere to be found, because of the tension here.
Do you know whether anyone has been injured?
Not yet. That's as far as I'm concerned. Not yet.
Just finally, before you go, are you able to tell exactly when they accessed the building?
So they started besieging the place from yesterday, but this morning some of them have really ventured into our offices.
Yesterday was Sunday, not a working day.
Yes, yesterday was Sunday, but they were in our offices yesterday.
How do you know that?
They besieged the frontage of the office. But today, because we are in, they have mustered the courage and have actually entered the offices and are driving people out.
So how do you know, people were there yesterday, Sunday?
Well, I mean, I'm a worker here. We have officers who live around. We have office quarters here. We have drivers who live in quarters here. And so two of them called me yesterday to alert me because they knew I would definitely come to the office this morning.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to leave it here, but as Kojo cautioned, please try to stay safe. And just by this conversation, we know that the police will be there to provide the necessary security. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're very grateful.
And our producers are working on the angle of the police getting to this destination as quickly as possible to provide security.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We are grateful. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. And this is rather very disturbing. This should not be happening.
It's very brave of her, actually, to, venture to make this phone call and put this information out there. You can imagine how terrified she and others must be in this situation. But it's tiring. It's ridiculous. In fact, it's shameful to a level that I cannot comprehend, that every time we have an election and there's a change of government, this ridiculousness happens, we talk about it, and then the next party comes along and does the same thing. It's as if when it was being done to them, they didn't feel the injustice of it. And so they've come back and are doing the same thing. I mean, what a commentary on the nature of humans.
Yeah.
They think it's their property. So they've got up from their home, put on clothes, bathed, and they've gone to a state institution to take it over.
Puff.
Because their party now has a president-elect. Do they even understand the world they are living in? They should be arrested, all of them, locked up, and perhaps their education can begin from there. But this thing, it just happens too often. And what bothers me is that we will seek a political solution to it rather than a legal one, right? We will not let the police step in and do their job. Some politicians will step in and pretend as if this is not a crime that is occurring, and it should somehow be dealt with differently. You will soon see phone calls flashing around, people trying to protect this sort of thuggish behavior. I'm appalled.
You land exactly where I was going to have taken this from. The fact that it repeats itself because people get away with it. The politicians empower it by not pursuing justice against people who do this. And we're seeing this at NADMO. Yesterday, we saw the burning of an electoral commission office in Damongo. We've seen other instances of property being destroyed, people being killed. And in an election, just for us to declare who should lead us for the next 4 years, one life lost is one too many. And it would seem that we're about to create more instances. It may not be more lives that will be lost, but property will be lost, and we are all going to be taxed to be able to raise money, to be able to replace those things. It doesn't make sense. And right from the beginning, the winning party should call its people to order. They need to call their people to order and tell them, yes, we're won, calm down, we will come into power December 7, we will take charge, we will run... January 7, sorry, we'll take charge, we will run this country, and they should just call their people to order. This thing repeats itself because they get away, their people get away with it, and it becomes just a political game. You did it, we did it, and then when we come and sit on radio, we are counting scores. Did NDC do some? Did NPP do some? And we leave the issue. But that is not enough. Until we prosecute some of these people, until we make examples of them, in the future it will keep recurring. And it's just unfortunate that our politics has been reduced to this level. Real democracy makes space for the next person. That's the truth of democracy. If we really want to be practicing democracy, we must make room for me to have my outrageous opinions, but it has a seat at the table. And so please, 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 NDC, call your people to order and tell them, we have come, we've won, It takes January 7 before we are sworn into power. And part of this problem is actually because we have this winner takes all thing. And so the moment they've won, then it is ours and we must come and take it over. It's not just NADMO's office. It's going to be public toilets. It happens with public toilets also. You were outraged. Yeah. You should be more outraged with the public toilets because they will clamor to the public toilets to try and take it over because yabaya winnie. I mean, please, let's elevate.
The first asset you run
let's
for.
Let's elevate. We have to do better.
So, you know, I think we should get something clear. We do have a contender in this election who's conceded defeats. We have not had the returning officer in the presidential election declare the results. So technically, and law. This is just technically, by law, we do not have a president-elect.
No.
But because of the special situation that happened yesterday, we do have a president-elect. But we have to allow the Electoral Commission to do its work.
It's just unfortunate.
We do have a sitting president right now.
It's wrong.
The fact that the NPP has lost the election does not mean we do not have a president who is NPP. We do. And that Danko Akufo-Addo is still the president of Ghana. And nobody can take over. We don't do that. Even when the president-elect takes office in January, nobody can just take over. You can't go into a building and say we are taking over. Most of us voted. I voted. Should I identify a public agency and go there and say that because I voted, I am taking over? We don't do that.
You know, it's embarrassing, Mama V, that we are here on national television instead of having the enlightening conversations that will elevate a nation. We are reminding people that the public toilets are still under Akufo-Addo's control. That's what we are doing this morning. That's the public service.
Let's not do this. We can't do this.
This is the service that the public requires. This cannot be us.
No.
This cannot be us. And we've got international observers among us watching how we are conducting ourselves in an election. This is what we want to show them. At some point, we must rise above excrement. It cannot be that as soon as an election goes our way, we run for the toilets.
Kojo, I'm expecting the police not to just go there and, you know, bring the situation under control, as they say. We should have you arrest people if you're there in good time. Arrest and prosecute.
Dr. Dampare actually did say before these elections unfolded that anybody who misbehaves, he has a place for them to sleep. Please, let us offer that accommodation to the NADMO pirates and lock them up immediately before the KVIP ones also join the fray. I can confirm that the police have been alerted and they are on their way to the location. I've just been informed of that. So hopefully those who are in need of rescue will be rescued shortly, and we'll keep an eye on that matter and bring you updates as they unfold. Right, this is your election headquarters. Even if we take a short detour to talk about NADMO. Let's stay on course, and we can now take you to Techiman South. Anas Sabit has been keeping an eye on things there, and you know there was some unrest there during the election. Anas, bring us all the way to today.
Yesterday I reported about the situation in Techiman South. Coalition had to translate it at a point. The EC officials, safety persons on at the scene. I'm going to leave with a positive story for some hours. I mean, roughly around 4 hours, we were trapped in the Divisional Police Command, which serves as the constituency coalition center. Fortunately, at a point, the EC officer had to, that the NPP candidate, Dr. Cricket Bafantibai, won the contest, and so the crowd, which were, out, were made to leave because they were in a jubilant mode. So that created for police journalists, police staff in the with the EC official police, the scene, and I mean, that is how it all ended. From last night, we've been trying to have access to the Electoral Commission to get the figures, I mean, the collated figures for the Techiman South constituency, that to no avail. I have to move to the EC office this morning. I made the office closed. I spent not less than 30 minutes there trying to wait to see the EC officials to come around. Later, I spoke with some of them, the EC officials, and I'm told the Minister EC Director is out of town. He's been advised to leave town for his own safety, and asked whether he's returning today, tomorrow, or tomorrow. We cannot tell. So the office will be closed, and that means we cannot give any concrete information with regards to the police results of the Chiman South, both presidential and parliamentary, and we cannot tell when exactly. We'll be returning to the office to get that information to us as easier as possible. So, I mean, the situation in the Chiman South, 50 of the people, you know, means they've been advised to leave town, remain safe. We don't know when they'll be returning. And of course, after I spoke with some of the AC officials, they told me some of them need psychologists to size them out because of how traumatized they were while they were trapped in the coalition center for over 4 hours.
Right. Now, Anas, it was very hard to catch some of what you were saying, but help us understand. You're saying that the process was truncated because of this interference, but what happened to the electoral materials? Are they safe? Are they locked away? Where are they being kept while we await the resumption of this process?
In fact, the first items were attacked where the ballot material. The police command is fenced. The ballot materials were kept in the open as the EC officials brought them, and the collation was done in the building. So when the youth agitated and attacked the services, their first point of was the ballot materials, which was the ballot boxes, the papers, and then were all in open. So they destroyed and set them ablaze. Everything has been bent or torn at the end. And then the building itself was attacked. The National Police Command has been smashed, and the burglar has been broken down entirely. If you ask me whether the materials are in safe hands or not, I have seen them bent down completely. So that is the situation in Techiman South. I don't know if the Electoral Commission already had the pink sheets for about 180 polling stations that are in town already. But if they are all in the ballot boxes, then I'm afraid they are all bent down during the agitations yesterday.
Thank you for that, Anas. And do you have any idea whether there have been any injuries or, God forbid, casualties?
That I cannot tell. That on Saturday night, while the EC officials were, sending materials into the coalition center, I have witnessed 1 or 2 people who were attacked by the angry mob out there. One was attended to by the ambulance service before they carried him to the hospital. The exception of these 2 I have witnessed personally, I cannot tell what, the situation has been from them. And I don't know the number of people who have received injuries or otherwise. I can also say that no one has been killed here in Techiman South. There are few casualties I have witnessed. But beyond that, I don't know the number specifically of people who got beaten or injured by the angry mob.
I want to thank you very much for that update, Anas Sabit, who has been on standby in Techiman South, covering those rather disturbing events that took place on the night of the election.
So, Kojo, Techiman South is the outstanding constituency that Israel talked about as part of the Bono East. Even though provisional results are out, this is outstanding. But when you hear Techiman South, you're sad. You're saddened because of events of 2020. It's the same constituency where we had and killed, actually. Those who were injured, we know the court ordered for them to be compensated. But there were people who lost their lives. And they haven't seen, the families have not seen justice served yet. And I can't believe that we're experiencing violence there again this time with all those disturbances. It brings the question, so what did we do anything deliberately to avoid this? Because it's obviously a hotspot.
Oh, I can believe it. I'm grateful that nobody has been killed again, because that tends to be what happens with us. We don't learn from our mistakes. We just keep doing the same thing. In other parts of the world, if even one person gets killed, if a dog gets killed as a result of something, they will pass laws and name the law after the dog, to remind everybody to not do the same thing and get the same outcome. But as for us, our talent is to just keep doing the same thing and hope that somehow the outcome will change. There's a name for that. I just can't remember it right now. Anyway, we can continue our analysis of the 2024 elections. Techiman South, bringing back the issue of the various pockets of violence that we've seen. Prof, I mean, as the day unfolded, or the days now that we're on Monday, as the days unfolded, I mean, what have been your thoughts about these violent outbursts?
As we begin to wrap up, Kojo, because we've got another team that will be taking over
from
11 a.m.
Time flies when you're having fun. So this will be your last word
yes,
for us, Prof.
my last words, the pockets of violence are uncalled for, and I think that it's partly because our citizens at the grassroots level do not have a full grasp of their role within the democracy. I think there's a misunderstanding of what they get to do. In this process, your role was to go get your votes cast, to tell us what you want to happen, and that's it. You leave the EC and the political parties to also do their part. And I think that there's some misunderstanding about that role. People think that, well, I mean, to some extent, the citizen also has a responsibility to ensure that what they wanted, which they've expressed with their vote, it's upheld, is what I want to say. And so policing the ballot and taking an interest in the credibility of the processes and the transparency, there is no problem in there. What I think is problematic, which signals a misunderstanding of people's roles, is the invitation of violence in there. Because if you truly understand the democratic processes, then you know that people are being paid and have been given resources to do work in this process. And you should be able to stay back and let them do their job. And so when we go there up in arms, ready to fight and to kill and etc., then it's a signal for me that people don't fully grasp. Or if they do, then they've decided to throw reason out there and just do what pleases them. And in which case, too, then there's a challenge, because it means that the systems we have allow them to get away every time they do those things. And so they feel empowered. I can do it, I'll get away, no consequences. And so they get to do it. But I go back to the political parties. You see, these young people, these party supporters, etc., they do that because they have faith in somebody. And so that somebody perhaps should rally the influence they have over these people and cause them to pause and to be calm and to wait for the process to go through. The EC has things it has to do to ensure that its job is done well, because if it gets challenged in court, it needs to be able to stand by its data. And that's what the political parties need to get their supporters to understand. And to those people who are trooping to the centers and engaging in violent acts, etc., I ask them, look around you. Which of the political party candidates you're supporting has their child standing next to you? If their family members are not there, it doesn't look to me that you're being very smart in putting your life up on the line for that.
Rob Benny, thank you so much for your time with us. Very enlightening conversation. We appreciate it very much. Oh, Mamavi, here we are, right?
Yes, just a quick wrap to remind our listeners and our viewers that out of the 16 regions with regards to the presidential election results, we've had the EC put out provisional results for 12 of the regions. So far, the NDC is leading with 9 of the regions: Western, Oti, Northern, Bono, Ahafo, Central, Upper West, Bono East, and the Volta region. The NPP, so far out of the 12, they have 3 regions. They've backed 3 regions that they've retained: Western, North, Northeast, Eastern. And we've got outstanding regions: Upper East, Ashanti, Greater Accra, and Savannah regions. Bono East region, there's the provisional result out in favor of John Dramani Mahama, but we have Techiman South as an outstanding constituency. In the Eastern region, the provisional result has been declared in favor of Dr. Baumia, but we've got outstanding 3 constituencies: Suhum, and Sanwem Aduejiri, and Akwetia. In the Central region, the result went in favor of John Dramani Mahama, but there's an outstanding constituency, Ewutu Senya East, which means their results have not been added to the total. So this is where we are. And for the constituency result in terms of the members of parliament, we have 221 results out of 276 so far, which means we have 55 constituencies outstanding to be declared by the Electoral Commission. What we are using, the results that you see as share, you hear as share, these are results as declared by the Electoral Commission. So out of the 221, we have NDC taking 162 seats in the next parliament, and NPP 59. But mind you, we have 55 more constituencies to be declared.
Well, if we're to sum it all up with one word, that word would be massacre. John Dramani Mahama is certainly massacred Mahmoud Baumia in the presidential race. The NDC has massacred the NPP in the parliamentary race. Unfortunately, 3 people have been massacred, confirmed in this election, and I have massacred Bid Zedong's name. But all is well that ends well. I'm so glad that you've been able to stay with us for the duration. Another team takes over to keep the coverage going, and we'll do so until we have the official results declared by the EC.
Yes.
But stay with us until then. My name is Kojo Yankson. I've been here with
Mamavi Owusu-Abuaje. Next, you would hear and see Kojo Braze. He's going to do the comparative analysis with all the regions that have been declared. How did it look like in 2020 with the figures? That's all coming up on your election headquarters. We'll have Emefa Adeti join Kojo Braze in doing that. We truly appreciate your company. This is your election headquarters, your most trusted source. Stay with us on radio on Joy 99.7 FM, Love 99.5 in Kumasi, Joy Prime, and of course, Joy News. We'll see you soon.